Happy Monday, good people. Thank you for tuning in and watching and streaming Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. It is Monday, start of your week. Right across from me, super producer Carlene Bragg.
Hi. It's
Hey,
Monday.
Carlene. It is Monday. Got to bring the energy for Monday afternoon.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did have a fantastic
Celebrated your
week.
mom.
Celebrated my mom.
Yep.
She turned years old.
Yeah, she turned something,
Yeah. So
25.
She turned 25. That's what the waiter said at the restaurant
Yeah.
in Greensboro. I went up to Greensboro to celebrate. It was about eight or nine of us, and she does not like when the folks come out and start singing "Happy Birthday," and they did. And I saw them. I had the vantage point. I saw them coming all the way around class. I said, "Ah."
You were soaking it up, even though she was not loving it.
She
but
does.
Yeah.
I loved it for her, but she had a great time. So it was a great weekend, a great relaxing weekend. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good.
Okay.
Dog sat some dogs. We
Turkey
went to the
and
Whitewater Center. Yeah, Brittany Van Voorhees' lovely dog Roger. Got in some mud. Yeah, Turkey and Roger, best friends.
Sure. And to my right, super producer Jeb Goldman. He's in a little early. I just had to shout him out. I like shouting out Jeb. He's it. So, all right, look, we have a busy show. I say this every time because we do. Like, on Live Impact News, we do a lot of breaking news, a lot of extended interviews, a lot of stuff just happens in these shows, and we want to bring you the latest information. One of those stories is a story that has been bubbling everywhere, especially on social media. A lot of folks are talking about this. We're talking about Newark Airport having some problems that are stretching into today as travelers are growing tired, exasperated. So let me read you what NBC4 New York has on their web article. It reads, travel woes stretched into Monday for flyers moving through Newark Liberty International Airport with almost 100 cancellations and more than 50 delays reported as the hub grappled with a brief weather-induced ground stop and ongoing issues around staffing and equipment. Delays were rampant over the weekend, And mounting Monday, U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer spoke this morning. We'll get to him in just a second. But these issues were so prevalent due to FAA equipment issues and staffing shortages that the CEO of United Airlines, Newark's largest carrier, said the company had no choice but to cancel flights from its schedule. So again, it has been a complete mess. And look, we're feeling the impacts here
That's right.
in
I'm
Charlotte.
Show you this. So this is the total delays
Okay.
in and out from Charlotte, but according to James Brierton, our kind of like in-house flight expert, shout out to James.
Shout out to James.
He did some digging and found out that 7 outbound flights from Charlotte and 3 inbound flights have been already canceled or delayed because of these problems
Wow.
just today.
And again, a lot of that is centered around, I know they had weather, but
Yep.
equipment issues,
Staffing
staffing
issues,
shortages. And
yes.
so it has been a mess. A lot of folks, I fly into.
Yeah, you fly into Newark often.
Often. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure next time I fly into Newark or flying
When
to.
were you scheduled? Did you already have something
No,
on
I
the
didn't
books?
have. Luckily,
Okay.
I didn't have anything booked. But we talked about it. LaGuardia, or
Or
somewhere
JFK,
JFK, somewhere. And a lot of folks, because a lot of folks from the New York area come and move down here to Charlotte or to North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
They fly,
fly
there
back all the time.
It's convenient to fly
Yep.
into Newark sometimes because
Yep.
it's less. It is a busy
You
airport.
can take the train and get
Yeah.
back in the city. Like it makes sense.
It might be a cheaper option
Might be
for a
ch-
lot of
yeah,
folks.
A lot more flight availability for their time slots.
So it is a mess, and this is as we're going to ramp into the summer travel season.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that a little later.
When you think about it right now, there's graduations happening.
Graduation,
There's this
oh,
type of thing.
man.
Like people have flights booked for
Booked,
this
yeah,
time of
yeah,
year. It's just
yeah.
that time of year where a lot of things are happening.
And imagine, I don't know what Newark, as far as folks connecting flights, but that might be a connection issue if you're flying elsewhere and you have to connect through Newark. So I just be, the biggest advice we always get: make sure you stay vigilant, check the status of your flight, rearrange some things if possible. So again, I mentioned today, U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer called for an investigation into the problems that have been building since last week. Here's what Chuck Schumer had to say earlier today. Let's listen into that.
Okay. So let me get right to it. And I'm going to get in the car and go right down to Washington after this. So, thanks for being here. Why are we here? Well, to say there's just minor turbulence at Newark Airport and the FDA, that'd be a big...
FAA.
What'd I say?
FDA.
Oh, sorry. They're a mess, too.
You should just say that.
Okay. So why are we here? Well, to say that there is just minor turbulence at Newark Airport and the FAA, that would be the understatement of the year. We're here because the FAA is really a mess. This mess needs a real forensic look, a deep look into it. We know that airlines have been canceling flights. We have ATC folks giving warnings. We have a 1990 technology being used in 2025. And we have safety issues, plain and simple. So today, I'm demanding a full Inspector General investigation as to what went on. I have asked the Office of Inspector General to thoroughly investigate what's going on at Newark and in the East Coast so these problems don't get worse and spread all across the nation. The chaos at Newark could very well be a harbinger if issues like these aren't fixed and if the FAA can't get real solutions off the ground. What are some of the problems? First, there's an unresolved and nationwide air traffic controller shortage. Second, DOJ hacked a chainsaw and fired many people at the FAA who have not been replaced. 3, the technology is old and must be updated. It was one of the things that happened at Newark is a copper wire burnt. Why are we using copper wire in 2025? Have they heard of fiber? And 4, depleting federal funds that the administration cannot ignore in the upcoming budget. They've got to invest more in the air traffic control system. So all this is a larger warning that we have to heed. According to reports, insiders say that Newark's controllers, tasked with managing the third highest, busiest airspace, have long warned the FAA of these problems. Newark's air traffic controllers have long warned the FAA that there are problems here. But the FAA waited, there was chaos, there were cuts, and so that's why the Office of the Inspector General at the Department of Transportation must comb the FAA's administrative, operational, and capital functions right away. We need the Office of Inspector General to look into how the FAA is managing its multifold mission of keeping the flying public safe and the airspace efficient amid the national air traffic controller shortage, possible political pressures, and tech failures. And this thorough investigation, I've asked in the letter that you have, 4 specific questions be answered and be answered quickly. First, why were the Potomac TRACON, that's the air traffic control towers, so let me put it that way so I'm not using jargon. Why were the Potomac air traffic control towers covering D.C., the Philadelphia air traffic control towers covering Newark, and the Newark air traffic control towers excluded from the FAA's May 1st, 2025 list of 13 hard-to-staff facilities? Because they knew that there were shortages, they offered a $10,000 bonus to 13 different air traffic control towers, but not to Washington, Philadelphia, or New York. Why? Since we're the ones with the greatest need. It makes no sense. These are the places where the shortage creates real problems. Second, how much has the recent loss of several thousand experienced safety and support personnel due to DOGE firings and resignations, forced and voluntary, contribute to the current chaos? Large numbers of people were fired and others were quit because they saw what mismanagement was coming from DOGE. How has that affected things? Third, what is the plan to replace the decades-old technology, equipment, and infrastructure, which now uses copper wires and floppy disks? That shows you how ancient it is in a key place. And fourth, what is the plan to quickly fill the critical leadership vacancies at the FAA, including the FAA's Air Traffic Organization? Head of the FAA's Air Traffic Organization, one of the key people to manage the airports, recently resigned. He announced his retirement, many believe out of frustration with how the FAA is managed under the Trump administration. Who's replacing him? Is the person qualified? How quickly can they get them? So who is guiding the agency runway here? Where is the competent leadership? Look, Newark Liberty, the airport, will continue to grapple with very significant operational disruptions if the critical shortages of air traffic controllers continues without a solution. And longer term, other airports in the nation will have the same problems we've seen at Newark if nothing is done. So we need a thorough forensic look. We'll take questions on this subject. Yes.
Hi, Senator. 2 questions. Have you had any direct communication with either Secretary Duffy's office or President Trump on this? Obviously, the airport's not working, serves no one, regardless of party. And why ask for an Inspector General's report when you know the Trump administration has fired a number of staff in the various offices?
Look, the Inspector General is supposed to be an independent agency. That's their job, to look into this. They're familiar with what goes on there. The Inspector General is the appropriate place to have an investigation. And my office has been in touch with the FAA on numerous occasions about these problems.
And what have they said, if you could shed some light on this?
They're not saying much. That's the problem. Yes.
2 questions for you, Senator. One, the CEO of United Airlines has said that about 20% of Newark's controllers walked off the job over the last week or 2. Wondering if you know why they did that and whether they're back, what the status of that is. And the second question I have for you is, as you know, last year the FAA moved a group of air traffic controllers from Long Island to Philadelphia. We reported last fall that that move within the first 2 weeks caused about 800 flight delays at Newark. Should that have been a red flag for what might happen?
Yes. I think moving to Philadelphia, which the FAA wanted to do, made the problem worse. It was still bad, but it made it worse. And that has to be looked into by the Inspector General. And as for the first, I don't know the answer for why they walked off. Okay? All right, I'm going to get in the car and go to D.C. right now.
Senator, we were promised an update on the 9/11 health fund.
Yes,
hearings.
you were. You were.
Senator, I
Okay.
think you should talk first. You did speak with Biden.
Yeah. Okay, so yesterday I spoke with two of the people who were fired from the 9/11 Health Organization. One a doctor and one who does intake of new people who have cancers that might have been caused by the smut that was in the air after 9/11. And it is outrageous. It is outrageous that they fired first 16 people, now another 16 people, and people who need help, who are heroes, who rush to the towers, every day are coming down with new cancers and new illnesses. And if the if the 9/11 Health Organization doesn't have the personnel, these people are going to get sicker. It's just outrageous. And we are demanding, first, we are demanding that these people be rehired. But second, we're asking our Republican congressmen who have twice, I don't begrudge them, they're trying to help Garbarino and others, but they've twice gone to the gone to the administration and asked that they be rehired. They came back and gave us assurances they'd be rehired. Not only were they not rehired, but another 16 are now fired. So I believe that these Republican congressmen should say they are going to withhold funding from next year's budget and not vote for it unless money is put in for these folks.
Leader Schumer, may I ask you quickly about the crypto bill, since it's one of your next tasks in Washington? What amendments are you seeking?
We're discussing it. As you saw, nine senators sent a letter saying they need some amendments. I believe we need some amendments. One of the things I'm focused on is Tether, which is an overseas company that, according to reports and intelligence documents that I've seen, has laundered money to very bad places. Okay?
Would President Trump have to be kept from personally profiting?
I'll leave it at the Tether right now. Okay? Okay, we're checking other amendments as well.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Senator Chuck Schumer from earlier today, talking about these issues at Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey. It is a mess. You see right here. This is from the website FlightAware. We're feeling the impacts of the staffing shortages, the cancellations at Newark.
One of our fellow producers, Janice, who's watching our
that's
stream,
right.
said her flight to Newark, she flies to Newark quite
Yeah.
often, got canceled as she was watching it.
Wow.
Like,
I mean, that's just how it is. I
Yeah.
mean, again, I want to read what the CEO of United Airlines had to say. And that's the largest carrier for Newark's airport. He said the company had no choice but to cancel flights from its schedule. So if they are doing it, I'm sure other airlines are probably following suit because of this. Again, it's something to keep your eye on. And again, if you're planning on flying and up to the New York area, New Jersey area, and Newark is your airport that you're flying into, just be aware. Make sure you check with your flight status and everything, because it is impacting a lot of folks, and no telling how long it's going to be this way. So again, and this is as we head into the summer season. All right, so let's shift gears for a second. As we mentioned earlier, we talked about our weekends, talked about what I did this weekend. Carlene mentioned what she did this weekend. But a lot of folks were here this weekend in the Queen City, specifically Uptown, the Kendrick Lamar show. Kendrick Lamar and SZA, because they're co-headlining that tour, the Grand National Tour. Love and Life. And I mentioned this earlier, the cool thing I saw on social media where folks bringing their kids, and I'm not saying like young kids, but like 10 to say about 17, bringing their kids along, sharing, their taste in music with them and vice versa. And it's just like a cross-generational thing happening. That's always cool.
it's cool to see.
We were talking about our parents not bringing us
Yeah, no.
concerts. That wasn't happening.
No. I can't remember the last concert I went to.
My mom told me the last concert she went to, and that was way before I was born. It was Bob Marley in Detroit, his last U.S. tour,
Okay.
in '79. And so I'm not going to get into her thoughts about that show. But that's one of those cool moments
Yeah.
that if I was a kid back then,
Yeah.
it'd been a cool thing. That was even before my brother was born. That'd been a cool thing to go to.
I think the last concert my dad probably went to with me was we saw Leonard Skinner at the Coastal Carolina Fair.
But still, but to share that moment with
Yeah,
your
it's
your
really
parents, no matter who, even if it's somebody that you're not a
Yeah.
huge fan of, even if it's somebody you are a huge fan of,
Yeah.
and some of those kids may not be in the generation where they are Dave Matthews Band fans or Kendrick Lamar fans, but the parents are, and they're always going to remember that. So yeah, we were there for Love and Life Festival in Uptown. A lot of folks there, a lot of foot traffic. That meant a lot of great business for those businesses in Uptown who are used to busy, used to it being busy in Uptown on the weekends, especially on Saturday and Sunday. So our Anna King got a chance to speak with a few businesses. Day three of the festival, the last day of the festival. And it was pretty cool kind of getting some of that insight from them and how they enjoyed the festival, what they were seeing. So this is sort of a recap of a few businesses and and you get to see some of the images from over the weekend from Love and Life Festival. Let's listen to this.
I am working closely with the owner of Wild Things Hot Dogs.
Thanks, Hot Dogs.
Yes.
So could you talk just a little bit about the traffic that you all have seen with the festival here?
Yes, it's been very nice this weekend. We're thankful to 7th Street Market for allowing us to be here and be vendors. And the traffic has been tremendous, actually, been very well. And when the concerts are going on, when they stop and the guys come out, for a little while, maybe take a break, that's when we get a lot of traffic. Yes.
And so could you possibly paint in numbers or like percentage-wise how much more you all have made this weekend compared to a typical weekend?
Typical weekend, we have probably doubled, yes, what we would make, yes.
And so what type
absolutely.
of preparation went into getting ready for a weekend like this?
You have to do a lot more prep. We have to make a lot more of the condiments that go with the chili and the slaw, with the hot dogs. So that takes a lot of time. With the owner, she makes them homemade, and they're always so very good.
And then so what will it look like for you all when this festival ends today? Does traffic typically stick around, or?
They do actually, when they come out, we do get quite a bit of business at the end of the concert, definitely, and the end of the festival. It's a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun then. Like a lot of times we have karaoke here, and they'll come out and they'll sing some of the songs that they've heard inside.
And then so after today, when this is all done, what are you all looking forward to?
Oh, we're just looking forward to the summer, and we've also talked with the 7th Street Market to do some other events for them as well, and in different locations actually, all over town. We're hoping to hear from other people anytime they want to call. We'll be glad to do their event.
Perfect. And then
Yes.
so just with the festival in general, is this something you all typically look forward to every year, or just or prepare
Yes.
for every year?
Yes, we're looking forward to it each year because it is very good. We have a lot of fun here, and the business is really good.
Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Anything else you'd like to add here?
Yeah, come out and see us. We'd love to see you at Wild Things Hot Dogs.
And I am the owner of Western Remount Custom Apparel.
Perfect. So could you talk to me just a little bit about what you all are doing out here?
Sure. So Western Remount Custom Apparel is a print shop, but we focus on embroidery. So I made some really cute towels and bandanas for the festival using glow-in-the-dark threads, and they're really cool. All of them are different. And I'm also selling my normal patches, hats, and things like that for the festival.
And then so what has the traffic flow been like since the festival started on Friday?
So I'll say that we had a nice flow yesterday. It was really nice until the rains came. Today's been a little bit different. I feel like everybody today's been really focused on getting into the festival right away.
And then so could you talk a little bit about maybe numbers-wise or percentage-wise what sales have looked like with the festival?
Well, I'll say that because I make things specifically for certain events, I don't really have a lot to compare it to, but I'll say yesterday I sold all out of my bandanas and a lot of my towels, and today they're just kind of walking by, but it's all right. I'm hanging in there because I love the energy out here.
And then so I guess what kind of preparation did it take to get ready for this festival?
Right, so I try to put try to put myself in the mind of a festival goer and think of things that they would want or need, accessories. I try not to do apparel because then you gotta have a bunch of sizes and colors and a lot to carry around, which I don't want to do all that. But I chose bandanas and towels because it's hot and people sweat and they're cool to look at and they're cool to carry around.
And did you have to order more for the festival, or what was that like?
No, it's the normal stuff I make, but I made sure to look into, I tried some specialized threads. So this time I'm using glow-in-the-dark threads. Never used them before, but I thought this was perfect because now they're out in the sun, but then when the sun goes down, they'll have this extra shine.
And then so with the festival ending today, what are you all looking forward to?
So I'm looking forward to the next thing. I always love Uptown Charlotte. I love 7th Street Market. This is where I normally vend. So it's really important to me to just be on to the next thing. And I feel like the next fun thing is going to be Juneteenth. So my favorite thing is my Malcolm X patch. I love the detail on it and the colors. And I would say that my favorite thing for this actual event is this bandana right here, because I just love the colors on it and it's really fun and it could be unisex.
And then so what's the go-to? What are people gravitating towards more?
They like the bandanas, boom. But I do have some people that were more into the towels. The patches sell well, but they're looking for something that they can use right now, you know? But I think it's a great souvenir because this is never going away.
So, what has the traffic been like since the festival started, I guess Friday?
It's been slowly picking up on Friday, then it got busier at night. The majority of the business, we got it on Saturday because of the lightning storm, so everything was postponed. I think they suspended it for an hour, and basically the whole festival was inside of this building, so it got pretty hectic, but it was a lot of fun. So, yeah.
And then so, is this like a weekend that you all look forward to business-wise?
I was not working here last year, but I was hearing about this upcoming festival already 2 months ago because people that were here were like, oh my God, it's gonna be crazy, you're gonna see it. So we ended up having so much prep to do. So I was looking forward for it to begin, and it was fun to be here, not gonna lie. Yeah.
And then, is there any way you could, I guess, compare this weekend compared to like any other normal, typical weekend?
Well, it's not. It's in Uptown, normal or typical is not really a thing because it just kind of depends on what's going on. It might be dead or it might be crazy. So it's not one of the biggest we got. It was not one of the busiest weekend that I was here for, but it's definitely up there. So it was more entertaining to be up here and talking to people than it was other times. So I enjoyed it. It was fun.
And then, so he kind of mentioned, but going into the next few weekends or like people falling off of this festival, what do you all expect? Do you expect traffic to continue to flow, or?
Well, the festival is over today. We don't expect it to stay around. I'm hoping I'll be surprised and wrong, so we can keep going like this. Because honestly, I don't mind. It's fun. It's definitely fun when all these people are around. It's just like in the atmosphere. It's nice. It's nice. It makes it go by faster. You interact with people. It's good times, really.
And then one last question for you: can you paint the picture of how much more you all made this weekend? Maybe double what you typically do?
It just kind of depends on what you compare it to. We've had pretty big nights that we made more than. There was no festival here, but there was some concert or games. I remember during March Madness, there was a weekend we made double what we made. So it was definitely not the busiest, but in terms of food traffic in here, it was the busiest. So I guess we personally didn't convert too much because of the weather. It's a lot of factors at play, but I mean, all the people that chose us enjoyed it. So hopefully we made some new customers.
And then prep-wise, you said you all had to order more stuff, more food and stuff?
Oh yeah, we went we upped our par about 1.5 to 3 times normal, but depending on the item, the singular item. But yeah, we were ready to go. So yeah.
Anything else?
was good. Come see us at Mano Bella or the South Park location, 721 Governor Morrison Street. It's good stuff. Italian food like nothing else.
And that was interview with a few businesses this weekend in Uptown. I saw some pretty good results as a result of folks coming, a lot of folks, thousands of folks coming through Uptown Charlotte due to the Love and Life Festival and also the Kendrick Lamar Says the Show. So some good insight there. All right, now we want to shift gears now. All right, you guys are going to have to help me out with this. We're working on a fire, okay. Bear with me for a second. We're working on some breaking news right now. I'll send you there live. So this is a live look. This is a fire. This is aerials of a fire at a refinery there. Again, bear with me. This just came in.
Benicia, California. Jeb, you're familiar. Is this Bay Area?
It's like, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's like North Bay.
North Bay.
Okay. So this is what NBC Bay Area is reporting. Firefighters are responding to were responding to a fire. I couldn't tell if that fire was still going. It looks like
I can't really tell.
I see some flames. Okay, it looks like it's out. I thought I saw some flames. So let me read what they have on the NBC Bay Area has on their web article. Firefighters on Monday were responding to a fire burning at the Valero Benicia refinery. Did I say that right? Okay. The city's, that's according to the city's fire department. All right, so residents in the area were instructed to shelter in place and keep their windows and doors closed. Further information was not immediately available. Now, a post on X from a distance, it shows that smoke from Bay Area air quality. Again, you're looking live as firefighters are dousing those flames. It looks like it's pretty much out. But according to Bay Area air quality, this is what they posted on X. And they put air quality advisory. A fire has been reported at Valero in Benicia. The air district is investigating potential smoke impacts in the immediate area and downwind, follow instructions from local health officials. And they're asking folks to check the air quality there. All right, so Contra Costa Health, did I say that right, Jeb?
Contra Costa.
Contra Costa Health. That's a hospital there, right? Okay, the hospital there in that area also posted on X saying they are aware of an incident at the Valero Benicia refinery and is sending a hazmat team to Martinez to monitor for any potential impacts within the county, and will continue to keep residents informed as more information becomes available. Again, you can see there, don't see a lot of flames because it looks like firefighters have it pretty much under control, but you see a ton of water being sprayed in that area. That is a refinery there at the Valero Benicia refinery in Benicia, California. That's in the Bay Area, and this is from NBC Bay Area is reporting info on this fire. Again, I want to go over it again. Firefighters on Monday, responding to a fire burning at the Valero Benicia refinery, according to the city's fire department. Now, residents in the area were instructed to shelter in place and keep their windows and doors closed. And again, limited details at this moment. Let me do some Googling to see if we can find a little bit more information. And again, this is the reason why I say this all the time. Anytime we cut into breaking news and we have limited information, this is the reason why you stay on Live Impact News, because as soon as we get new information, we give it to you right there on that second. So we're working to get a little bit more information on this fire. All right. So from what I gather, this refinery is an old refinery located near the San Francisco Bay Area city of Benicia, California. The refinery is owned by Valero Energy Corporation. So that's some background on this refinery. It's actually located northeast of San Francisco, just to kind of give you a much more some context. So here's what Valero, their website says. The Benicia refinery is located northeast of San Francisco. It processes feedstocks into California, reformulated gasoline blend stock of oxygenated blending.
We're learning these words as y'all are.
Again, this it's a refinery.
Yes.
Again, I'm reading this straight from the website. But again, it looks like the flames are under control. I wanted to give you a little bit more background on what this place is, what you're looking at. But again, it looks like fire is under control. Fire crews are dousing those flames, what were flames now, and I'm sure they're checking just for hot spots, which is typical for fire investigations. But air quality, obviously a big issue right now for folks in that area, and they just want to make folks are sheltered in place and being safe. All right, so let's move off of this. We want to go now to the Karen Read trial. So we're entering the third week of that trial. Here's what we got so far. It's the third week of the trial, and it's expected to be a full day. Last week, we saw a lot of a key prosecution witness, Jennifer McCabe. Her testimony concluded on Friday. Today, right now, you're watching Katie McLaughlin. She is a Canton firefighter and paramedic who was one of the first responders on the morning that O'Keefe was found outside in the snow. So again, she is on the stand right now. Let's take a listen in.
Your emotions, everybody else's emotions. Single question. When she responded in the way that you've indicated she responded, correct?
Yes,
The words you claim you heard were, "I hit him." Is that right?
correct.
It's your experience that people under pressure, people under stress, because you go to high-stress situations all the time as a firefighter paramedic, correct?
Correct.
People in those kind of situations speak in broken sentences or rhetorical questions, correct? Not uncommon.
People react differently at different scenes.
But you
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't say that that's uncommon. Oh my God, what happened? What happened? Things of that nature.
No.
Did you hear my client ask the question of confusion, or a series of questions of confusion? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?
I did not hear that.
You never heard her say anything close to, did I hit him or could I have hit him?
I did not.
Ms. McLaughlin, where are your notes regarding this statement?
I don't have any.
Where'd they go?
It's not in the role that I was in, I'm not in a position to write a report on this type of call. It would be the lead paramedic or the officer on scene.
So you didn't write anything down, you didn't have any opportunity to write anything down?
I didn't.
You're just going by your memory.
Yes.
I'd like to play Exhibit 4, starting at runtime 8:50.
Okay.
Pause it. Just to orient us, can you tell me where you are in that video?
I might be in the middle there, although I didn't get a good look.
With the yellow and the red.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to pay special attention, Ms. McLaughlin, to your right and your left hands as this video plays. Could we go ahead and play it? Pause it. What are you looking down at?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I would write like stuff on my glove. That's something I'll do as I'm getting the information. Was that your question about notes?
So you were taking notes.
That's just me jotting down the demographics.
Let's keep playing. Pause it. Is this still the part of the interaction where my client is overly frantic and almost hysterical?
That's the point where your client started to make the statements.
Was she overly frantic and almost hysterical?
She was distraught.
Okay. overly frantic and almost hysterical? We're using different words. I'm asking you about your words. Does this describe her as overly
I think the overly frantic and hysterical, I was describing the entire scene.
So you'll agree that she doesn't look overly frantic or hysterical?
Again, hard to say from a video, but
And according to you, well, that's actually, Ms. McLaughlin, it's easiest to say from a video, isn't it? It's a video. The best
yeah, I mean, she's kind of, she's not totally in view, and I mean, she wasn't standing there calmly, I guess.
Right, she looks hysterical to you.
She was upset. She was very upset.
Hysterical?
I might say hysterical. She was extremely upset.
Okay, and this is the point at which Ms. McCabe is saying, calm down, you're being hysterical.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it. Pause it. So you indicated that this is the point at which, and we can leave the lights down for a second. I'm going to play it again. This is the point at which you said my client had just said, I hit him, basically confessing to having hit John O'Keefe, correct?
Those are the statements she made.
And Officer Seraph is standing right there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You see any reaction from him right there?
I know he turned and told somebody to go get the sergeant. I don't know if that already played. I'm sorry?
Do you see any reaction from him?
He responded, "You what?" And she repeated it again, and then he told someone to get the sergeant.
I know that's what your statement is. I know that's your testimony. I'm asking about the video. Do you see him reacting right here?
You'd have to play it again. I wasn't looking at that part.
Do you see him handcuff my client?
Oh, no.
You see him call anybody over to handcuff my client?
He turned to signal to get Goody down here is what.
So they handcuffed her?
No.
Right. They didn't handcuff her?
No.
Even though she just confessed in front of a police officer, according to you.
That's what she said.
I hit him. It's my fault. I did it. That's a confession, correct?
She said, I hit him.
And Officer Seraph just stands there, and my client walks away, correct?
You'd have to talk to Officer Seraph about that.
Oh, we have.
You should.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Okay, so let's move on. Mr. Jackson, I'm not rushing you, but how much longer do you think you'll be?
Not long.
Okay, so,
I can wrap it in a couple of minutes.
okay.
Toward the end of this video, Your Honor.
Are you playing it again, or should we put the lights on?
If we can play it again.
Okay.
Continue. Pause it. You appear to be writing something down,
I could be.
and according to you, you're writing on your glove.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of glove?
Just a regular latex glove that we use on the ambulance.
You didn't have a notepad?
I probably did. Sometimes it's easier to just write it down on your glove.
Right. Do you write, I hit him on your
No, I did not.
Go ahead and play it. Still appear to be writing something down, looking down at your glove?
I might be looking at it.
Can you pause it? Is this also an example of my client being overly hysterical and frantic?
Oh, I wasn't paying attention to her.
You can have the lights up. Whatever it was that you were talking to Miss Reed about, it was important enough that you had a pin out. You were writing things down, correct?
Well, I was still finishing writing down some of the other.
It was important enough.
Yeah.
Write things down. Yes, sir?
Yes, I wrote down some of the things that were said.
Some of the things that were important, correct?
Yes.
For instance, you'd write down John O'Keefe. That's his name, right?
Right.
You might write down a circle with a slash through it, allergies, no allergies, right?
Right.
You might write down 46 for his age.
Right.
You might write down how he was injured, hit by a car, correct?
I did not know that was, well, I didn't know what those statements meant.
You might write down 3 little syllables that was just told to you. I hit him, especially if it had been repeated 4 times as you claimed, correct?
Yeah, I had that in my head and I was going to go tell them that.
And you had a pen right in your right hand writing things, correct?
Yeah.
You never wrote that down, did you?
I wasn't going to write that statement down on the glove. I remembered that and I went back to the ambulance and told them.
You didn't memorialize that statement on any note that we have, correct?
No.
You didn't memorialize that statement on any glove that you were wearing, correct?
No.
Whatever you wrote down on that glove, where's that now?
Yeah, I don't have it, obviously.
I don't know how obvious it is. What'd you do with it?
You just scratch everything out and you throw out the glove.
Just threw it away.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Yes.
that yes?
Yes.
So we don't know what was actually on or not on that glove, do we?
I didn't write those words down on that glove.
As we stand here, we don't know what was or wasn't on that glove.
Name, date of birth, no meds, no history, no allergies. And then I wasn't writing that statement down on the glove. I went back to the ambulance and just reported it.
And importantly, it was important enough, as you say, to go back and report the statement, but not important enough to write it down with that pen that is very conveniently in your right hand, correct?
It's not about importance. I was relaying that information to the ambulance verbally. I didn't need to write it down.
And you, in fact, didn't write it down, did you?
No, I didn't make a report about it.
And you're also aware that not a single police officer out at the scene wrote that down either. Objection.
Sustained.
That's all I have.
Mr. Brennan, can you do a redirect in 5 minutes?
I can.
Okay.
Ma'am, when Mr. Jackson would show you part of your testimony from a prior proceeding, was he leaving something out when he was showing you that and asking you questions?
Sustained.
When he asked you about whether you knew Caitlin Albert and you said you went to high school with her, did you immediately then answer questions describing that relationship?
Correct.
Watch the form.
Were you asked immediately other questions about the relationship?
I explained the relationship over and over again throughout the testimony.
In fact, you described the relationship over 20 times, didn't you?
I'm sure it was that many.
You didn't simply just say, somebody named Kate. I went to high school with somebody named Caitlin Albert. You didn't leave it at that, did you?
No, I didn't.
Do you remember saying, I would say more acquaintances, not close friends?
Right.
You remember immediately saying after that, I would say we had mutual friends. We might see each other occasionally because of mutual friends, but we don't have a one-on-one friendship or hang out regularly?
Right.
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it.
You remember many more statements after that initial answer where you described the relationship.
Yes.
Similarly, you were asked about a meeting with the state troopers,
Yes.
and the attorney asked you a question about your memory or suggesting that Mr. Albert set up the meeting. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
You were asked questions just like that before at the last hearing, weren't you?
Yes.
Remember being asked about who set up the meeting and you saying that you didn't recall?
Yes.
And then you remember being asked about whether a completely different officer set up the meeting, and you said, I don't remember exactly how it was set up?
Yes.
Followed by, so that was my next question. You may have told me this. Do you have any recollection who set that interview up, and you said you didn't?
Right.
And you were specifically asked, does the name Kevin Albert sound familiar?
Objection.
Do you remember saying no?
The objection sustained.
Do you remember when you were asked at the last hearing, does the name Kevin Albert sound familiar? Do you remember what you told Attorney Jackson?
I told him no.
And then you were then asked, do you know Kevin Albert? Do you remember your response?
I said no.
When you were there trying to help the gentleman that was on the ground, did you know this would become a homicide investigation?
No.
Did anybody tell you this was a homicide?
No.
In fact, when you spoke, or the defendant spoke to you, you were simply trying to get background information to help Mr. O'Keefe. When she told you, I hit him, did she say that she hit him with something?
No.
Did you know whether it was with a fist or a foot
No.
or a Lexus?
No.
You mentioned this was not part of your role to investigate. Why didn't you persist? Why didn't you follow up and ask more questions about that statement? What about the situation and the dynamics caused you not to ask questions?
Sustained as to that.
Why didn't you persist in getting more information from the defendant when she said, I hit him?
I felt bad for her at the time. It was a very disturbing scene, and I did not want to push further down that road. It's not my job, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it.
Did you write those statements down on your glove?
No.
Then how do you remember she made those statements?
I won't ever forget those statements.
I have no further questions.
Anything, Mr. Jackson?
Very briefly, that was a disturbing scene, you said, correct?
Yes.
An emotional scene.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A scene that was upsetting.
Yes. Yes.
For a lot of reasons, right?
Yes.
And that's when things start getting missed. When emotion starts playing a role, correct? That's when details start getting missed.
I guess it depends on the situation.
Right, but this was a disturbing, emotional, upsetting scene even for you, correct?
I felt that for a civilian to see it, it was very disturbing for them.
Probably wasn't great for you either, was it?
It's not.
Yeah. And your testimony is you never heard my client say, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Correct? You never heard that.
I didn't hear those questions. No.
What you heard was, I hit him. Is that right?
I heard him. I hit him repeatedly.
And changing gears for a quick second. I'm almost finished, Your Honor. You did ultimately start talking about your relationship in more detail with Caitlin Elwin under my questioning, didn't you, after that first date? Is that right?
Yes.
That's when I started showing you photographs, correct?
Objection.
Was that when you were seen showing photographs?
I don't know. I described it so many times. I don't remember.
But you knew I had information that I was going to ask you about.
Objection.
Sustained.
No.
Objection.
Finally, with regard to Kevin Albert, did Trooper Proctor tell you during that interview that he had texted with with Officer Kevin Albert about setting up your interview? Did he tell you that?
I have no knowledge of that.
Did Trooper Proctor tell you that the reason we're here, the reason we set this up is because Kevin Albert texted me that he had already coordinated with you?
Never. No.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. McLaughlin, you are all set. Jurors, I appreciate you going a little later until lunch to just finish the witness. So why don't we do that? We'll give you 45 minutes, come back at 5 minutes past. Thank you.
All rise for the court, please. Go to notebooks and follow me.
So you were just watching live the Karen Read trial entering the third week. That was Katie McLaughlin on the stand. She was a paramedic on the scene once John O'Keefe, Karen Read's boyfriend, was found in the snow. So we'll get back to that. They went to lunch, right, Carlene? They did. Okay. All right. So shift gears. A lot of folks starting their day, maybe, or already started their day. They started their day hours ago, or maybe they're just now starting their day, and maybe they're just wondering, hey, what's the weather like? It's beautiful today, but can it last the entire week?
Will it last?
Will it last? That's a good question. And that's what we call a tease in the news business, folks. Here's meteorologist Becca Birdsall with your forecast.
Well, if you're a fan of the 70s, you're going to love this upcoming work week ahead, as temperatures are going to hang right around the average high temperature for this time of year, upper 70s for most of the next couple of days. Next best rain chance will likely come towards the end of the work week as our next cold front starts to come through, and depending whether or not that stalls out down to the south of us, could bring us an additional round of rainfall for this weekend. Also looking at cooler temperatures ahead both your Saturday and Sunday. Outside right now, we've got mostly sunny skies out there, and temperatures will only continue to climb into the middle 70s across the metro, and the evening should be nice. Whether you're going out for a walk or maybe hitting the patio for Cinco de Mayo, temperatures will be falling to the upper 60s right around 8 o'clock, and of course it is going to be a chilly start for tomorrow morning as well. Want to show you that latest Doppler radar. There is a severe thunderstorm warning off towards Raleigh, but right now we are just getting brushed with a light downpour that continues to impact the western portion of Avery County. So this is a heads up to Ash and Watauga as that continues to drive up to the northeast. Otherwise, will be mainly dry for today. That system is all part of this low pressure system that continues across the Ohio River Valley. And this is a part of a weather pattern called the Omega Block. Now, the Omega Block, you can see actually the shape of the Greek letter omega in between a high pressure system and two low pressure systems that continue to sit on the side of it. This brings typically a stagnant weather pattern across most of the Carolinas as well as the United States, with some locations receiving a rinse and repeat cycle. For us, it's going to bring some cooler than average temperatures for most of the work week ahead. For tomorrow, lots of sun in the forecast. Highs will be in the upper 70s. A few more clouds will mix in for Wednesday, mainly dry conditions. And by Thursday, as our next cold front starts to approach, that's going to likely bring us a better round of showers and storms. Timing out the futurecast for today. If you live in the Charlotte metro area, you will likely be dry. It's the high country and our most eastern counties that have a chance for a few light downpours. This fizzles out with that daytime heating. Tomorrow stays dry with a few high clouds to fix in. And then as we approach your Wednesday, this is where more clouds start to move in and a few light showers will stream in, especially west of I-77. Fast forwarding to Thursday, especially Thursday morning ahead of our next cold front, and we've got a bigger band of showers, even a few thunderstorms possible, with more moderate to heavy rainfall in the forecast. This will likely linger between Thursday and Friday with those highest rain chances. Then, as this front continues to sink down south of Charlotte, this is where we have the potential for it to stall out, meaning it could bring us an additional round of rain towards the weekend. This particular model has us staying mostly dry for your Mother's Day weekend if you're already making plans. However, another model has rain driving right back up from the north. So keep that in mind. Plans could change. That's why you should stay tuned with the latest forecast each and every day for this upcoming work week. Saturday and Sunday are both going to feature cooler than average temperatures, lower 70s with morning temperatures down into the 50s. Guy Roofing 7-day forecast should be pleasant and comfortable conditions with lower dew points today, highs in the middle 70s with a mix of sun and clouds. More sunshine for Tuesday, a little bit warmer, upper 70s with more clouds to filter in on Wednesday, with some scattered showers and thunderstorms impacting the first half of your Thursday. We'll likely continue that into Friday, with rain chances potentially impacting your Mother's Day weekend.
And that's Becca's forecast. A lovely week on tap. Yeah, I mean, no complaints. You have no complaints out of me when it comes to this week. Perfect week. All right, so we want to get to an update from Lancaster, South Carolina. So here's what we got. So let me read you the headline. Lancaster Walmart fire caused by arson. 12-year-old suspect pleads guilty. So here's what we have on our website. And here's some video that we got in from that incident. So a 12-year-old pleaded guilty to intentionally starting a fire inside the Walmart on the Highway 9 bypass in Lancaster on Sunday. That's according to court records. You're seeing video right there on your screen from that incident. You see those flames inside that Walmart. Well, the suspect, who has not been identified because of their age, pleaded guilty to second-degree arson in connection with this incident. He will remain in police custody until a mental evaluation is completed, which should be in the next 45 days. Now, once the judge receives the result of that evaluation, there will be a sentencing hearing for the 12-year-old. Again, the suspect is a 12-year-old. The maximum sentence is to be held until his 22nd birthday, and that's according to the solicitor there in the area, Randy Newman. All right, so last month, this same Walmart, 6 suspects were arrested after a shooting at that Walmart. Now, police said the shooting is related to gang activity. Now, a lot of concerns following that incident and this most recent incident on Sunday with the fire. But again, I just want to get you up to speed. A 12-year-old pleaded guilty to intentionally starting a fire inside the Walmart on Highway 9 bypass in Lancaster on Sunday, and that's according to court records. So that's this is the video that you're watching right here on your screen, and that's the update that we just got moments ago into our newsroom on this story. All right, now, so let's shift gears away from that, and we'll continue to follow this story throughout the day here on Live Impact News and on WCNC Plus. So, all right, okay, so we talked about it when we hit the 6-month mark about Hurricane Helene and the impacts and the damage and debris that folks are still dealing with there. But it's also renewed the focus on hurricane preparation. So today, Charlotte officials promoted early hurricane preparedness ahead of the likely above average 2025 hurricane season. And then as hurricane season approaches, Mecklenburg County officials are urging folks to be prepared to mitigate the potential storms. So they held a press conference this morning along the Catawba River. Officials highlighted the importance of planning and readiness. Here's that press conference in case you missed it.
So we're here today to talk about Hurricane Preparedness Week. And we've done this, I've been in my position 7 years, and 7 years we've talked about it since I've been here. But it's always important, you know, we sit in Mecklenburg County, we're down here on Riverside Drive. In Mecklenburg County, we had millions of dollars of loss from Helene. And just because maybe you didn't feel it, a lot of folks did. And I drove down through here this morning and I saw people working on their houses and their homes. And I just had a conversation with a neighbor, and for them, the hurricane was like yesterday. And I am from Henderson County, and my hometown was severely devastated from Helene. But for us, we have to remember that only 4 counties away, West North Carolina got hammered by Helene. It's estimated that there were 6,600,000 trees down. And in Mecklenburg County, we had 87 homes severely damaged from the hurricane. So this is the week that we talk about hurricane preparedness. And I have this conversation a lot with folks. They'll say, well, when was the last time we had a hurricane that came through Charlotte? Hurricane Michael was a good example. Hurricane Florence, obviously. But we always have to remember that in 1989, we had Hurricane Hugo. And Hurricane Hugo came through as a Category 1 storm through Charlotte, North Carolina. And at the time, we had roughly less than half the population that we have today in Charlotte, and of course, a lot in the county. So a lot of people don't have that memory of what it was like. For Hurricane Helene in the mountains, many people did not have power for 2 weeks, 14 days. And so today is the day we want to start talking about preparedness. You have to put yourself in you have to think about a situation where you're going to have to take care of yourself and your family for up to 72 hours. And so what we encourage everybody to do is make a plan. And what does that mean, make a plan, get prepared? Start to put supplies aside and think about what you would need for the first 72 hours without power, without the ability to go to the store. And you want to make sure your family knows what the plan is if you lose communications. For the mountains, there was nothing. There was no cell phones, there was no internet, there was no communication whatsoever, and there was no power. And so when they got up there, it literally was like going back to the 1800s for a period of time. That can absolutely happen in Mecklenburg County, and so we want to prepare for that. We want you to follow us on social media, follow Charlotte Mecklenburg Emergency Management. I believe we're pretty much on all platforms, but also follow your local news media. And I always tell everybody, have at least 3 sources for following weather, whether it's National Weather Service, your favorite media, your favorite meteorologist, but keep up to date. And don't go by, you know, a lot of folks will say, well, the last 3 storms weren't as bad as they thought. Well, Helene was way worse than we thought it was going to be. And there are other examples. The blizzard 93 was a good example. Way worse than the meteorologists thought it was going to be. They are forecasting what they think is going to happen. We don't know what actually happened until after the storm. And then we're having to deal with it and cope with it. For us to be resilient, it means we have a plan, but personally and for your businesses. And businesses aren't left out of this either. Make sure that you're keeping all your records and that you have those backed up in multiple formats. Also encourage your family members to have plans. Your elderly neighbors, make sure you're talking about it and what you think is going to occur. I'll stop there for you guys.
Well, I guess you guys have probably had meetings since then. What have you guys learned since Helene, and do we kind of take that for granted that, oh, it's a hurricane, it's not going to hit us directly? It did.
Oh yeah, so Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management works every day. That's all. This is what we do. We plan for all the things that are bigger than your normal day-to-day emergency. So the police department, fire department, medic, they do a great job. But for emergency managers, we talk about catastrophes, we talk about disasters. We're looking at all the things that we don't think about on a daily basis that will stretch our resources here in Mecklenburg County. And we have great resources throughout the state, but there are times, and Helene was a good example of that, when there are not enough resources to go around, whether there's a rescue resources, CMPD, etc. And so we have to make those coordinations. So we talk about this all the time. We've had extensive discussions with our meteorologists, with the National Weather Service, and we're always looking at the last storm. So in 2019, this same area that we sit today had devastating flooding, and then they had it again last year. So we have a great stormwater program here in Mecklenburg County, and we're working on buying a number of the houses out and restoring them just as we sit here today on a lot that at one time had a dwelling on it that no longer does today. And so we identify that, and that's what they call hazard mitigation. So we're mitigating the hazard so that the next time, hopefully, we don't have the same outcome.
One of the biggest lasting issues up in the mountains was the supply of potable water and making sure that they had like clean drinking water.
Yes, ma'am.
What is being done to protect our water here?
So that's a question for the water department. But what I will tell you is, Charlotte, everybody, and I was talking about this morning, we have great water. Charlotte Water is an amazing asset that we don't really talk about enough because we take it for granted. But I'm going to allow Charlotte Water to talk about what they do. But yeah, we have amazing people at Charlotte Water. You want to talk about?
Could you repeat your question again?
Yeah. So in the mountains, one of the biggest, like longest lasting issues was the availability of potable water because of all the debris and gunk and stuff.
City stormwater services. So I know that Charlotte Water has a lot of mechanisms to make sure that this is not going to happen. We have a filtration system. We always communicate with our partners just to let them know that we are making sure that all these that our waterways are clean, that our stormwater system is clean, and there's not going to be any flooding to any of flooding risk to any of our residents. So we want to make sure that everyone is prepared. We have Charmec alerts. We have we have the information on our website as well. Stay prepared. Have all your materials ready in case a storm hits. So charmec.org, charmec.gov definitely. That's where we would like our residents to go and get their information. Yep.
Just say your name.
It's Janice Mukia.
Spell your last name.
Mukhia.
Charlotte Water?
Yes. City Stormwater Services. Yes.
And,
Thank you.
and I'll add to that a little bit. So Charlotte Water has their own emergency management program. Their director and their deputy directors work very closely with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management. They have representatives that are in the EOC. And for Helene in particular, we did send a number of resources to assist with water departments in the mountains, one of them being Asheville Water, because they were devastated. But I think she hit on a very important part of this, which is to make sure you sign up for Charlotte Alerts, because one of the issues they had during Helene was they couldn't get information out to the public that the water systems had been impacted. And so my family was part of that. They did not know that Hendersonville water had been severely impacted. We do a great job here, but a lot of things that we take for granted here because we are a major metropolitan city don't always occur in other rural areas in North Carolina. So we are blessed. And I always say that we are blessed here at Mecklenburg. But I always think of this, the systems can fail. And so we had that during COVID. We had a number of things that we were deeply impacted here in Mecklenburg County. We're always going to make it through. We're always going to make it through, but it is important that you stay connected, that you're getting information. If it's government, you're getting information from the government, and always know that emergency management, we coordinate resources and we coordinate agencies and governments within Mecklenburg County and work very closely with the state and federal to get us what we need to get back up and running here in Mecklenburg County. But the private sector is incredibly important to that, incredibly important. And so a lot of the big companies that we all visit on a regular basis and do our shopping, if we can support them and get them open, that helps with a lot of areas as we work through disasters. We always want to return to normal. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to get there.
I'm sure you talked to some residents over the last few weeks. Are they be better prepared now, or saying, I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm going to do this time?
They are. I think for Helene, whether it's here in Mecklenburg County or in the mountains, and remember, and when I say the mountains, we're talking like 50 miles away from here, right? And so the important, number one thing you can always do to make sure that you are prepared is to make sure you have proper insurance. Your insurance is incredibly important because the government is not going to bet. The government, FEMA is not going to replace your insurance. That is on the individuals, and so you want to make sure you have proper insurance. And if you need flood insurance, you want to make sure that you are signing up for the flood insurance. If it rains where you are, you probably need to consider if you need flood insurance. For us here in Mecklenburg County, one of the things that I'm very proud of for Charlotte and Mecklenburg County is our emergency management program and how we are resilient and prepared. And when I say emergency management program, it's not just Charlotte Mecklenburg Emergency Management, it's all 6 towns, the county and the city working together. We work tirelessly, we're always training, we're always exercising. All the managers from the 6 towns, the county manager, the city manager, they lead the way to make sure that we are resilient here in Mecklenburg County. We're all talking all the time. And then whenever something happens, we open the Emergency Operations Center and then we're coordinating for our city and county.
Sitting here now, it's serene, it's quiet, but if a storm comes in, don't let that fool you. Just be prepared and be ready.
That's right. Always be prepared and be ready. And just as you saw on Saturday, I looked at the weather on Wednesday and they said it's going to be a beautiful weekend, right? And we're like, oh, we're going to have love and life. It's going to be great. And then surely it changed. And then we had a number of storms come through on Saturday, right? So we had like 3 or 4 lines of storms that came through on Saturday. And that is a good example of making sure that you have the latest weather, making sure that you have good situational awareness for yourself. We've all been there, right? We've all been in an event and a storm popped up and we said we had no idea that a storm was coming. We should have paid more attention.
Okay, awesome. Now I'm going to ask Alex Newell with Charlotte Mecklenburg Stormwater Services to come up and talk about flood insurance.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the new John Wendell. My name's Alex Moore. Yeah, I can always adjust. I know you guys have to redo all these camera shots. Yeah, I'm with County Stormwater Services, which it's fun because John Wendell was a meteorologist with WCNC, and I did some on-air meteorology stuff too. So we have quite the similar background. I just graduated from UNCC like 6 years ago, so got to do all the fun meteorology stuff. But yeah, I don't have a lot to talk about other than
How are you guys preparing for this hurricane season
Right.
versus last year, maybe?
well, each year the hurricane season.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We want to shift away from that press conference to this. Happening now, President Donald Trump is announcing that the 2027 NFL Draft will take place in Washington, D.C. Right there is President Trump at the podium. To his right and to our left is NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. And directly behind President Trump, to his left, to our right, is D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. Let's listen into this press conference.
Would you say more than 100,000 people? I think. What is the capacity would you think it can hold? Because the mall can actually hold up to 1 million people if you go all the way back. What do you think?
Over 3 days, we'll be over 1 million.
Oh yeah, you're going to have boosting local businesses and bringing jobs and tourism to the heart of our capital. The draft is a celebration of one of our country's most cherished cultural institutions and the annual highlights for football fans everywhere. Everyone in the world is going to be watching. We look forward to welcoming people from across the nation, from all over the world. Last month, the Washington Commanders and the D.C. government also announced a major deal to build a brand new 65,000-seat football arena at the site of the RFK Stadium in eastern Capitol Hill, and I don't think there's a better site anywhere in the world than that site.
Incredibly exciting.
You know, he's a friend of mine. He's a very successful guy. There's a reason for it. It's amazing. It sat there for years, and people were talking about stadiums in 25 different sites. I said, they're not talking about the best site. That's the best site there is. Bringing professional football back into the district from Maryland. And not only are these announcements great for the NFL, but they also advance the mission of making Washington, D.C. safe and clean and beautiful. And we're working very closely with the mayor, as you know, and we've made a lot of improvements in the last few months, and it's getting to look really strong. Crime is way down, and there's a good relationship we have going with Muriel. So I want to thank you very much. And would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. President.
The mayor, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm sorry. Well, greetings. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of the best city in the world and also the sports capital. And we are delighted to be here with the Washington Commanders, the NFL, and the president to talk about this very exciting announcement for Washington, D.C. We believe in investing in sports because they have helped us transform neighborhoods, and the NFL bringing this event to the nation's capital will help us fill hotel rooms, our restaurants, and Americans from all 50 states will come to their nation's capital and enjoy our beautiful city and museum. So we're just delighted to be here, and we want to thank everybody for all the hard work to get here.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, thank you. We're honored to be here in the Oval Office, and to have you announce the 2027 NFL Draft is a special treat. So thank you for your support. Also, thank you for your support in the Commanders' new stadium. We agree it's going to be a great site. We think it's going to be great for our fans here, and it's great to come back home. And so we're very excited about that. Josh is leading the way on our behalf, and the mayor, so we thank both of them for that. We also want to thank you because in the first term you helped us get a Canadian trade deal, which we want to make sure we note again and make sure you know.
Canada does not like me too much. They gave a great American company a lot of money that you deserved, frankly. So.
Thank you. The draft has really become one of the great entertainment and sports events. Just a week ago in Green Bay, we had over 600,000 people attend. The year before in Detroit, we had close to 800,000. As the president remarked, we believe we'll be well over 1 million when we come here to D.C. in 2027. So we not only believe it's a great site, we believe it's consistent with what the president said, which is investing in our communities, investing specifically here in the nation's capital, one that I grew up here in Washington, D.C., and is particularly important. We think we can have a tremendous impact on this community, and it will not just be an event, it will be something that will show the world how far the nation's capital has come and where it's going. So we're very excited about that. And we thank everybody here. We thank you for your support. We know it's going to be a great event. Mr. President, we thank you again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good luck with it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you very much. We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you for your leadership in terms of the stadium, and now, what a great day for Washington. I mean, to host the NFL draft in 2027 on the Mall, I believe we'll get over 1 million people, and it's going to be an amazing day, and it'll showcase what Washington's all about, but it'll also showcase what our country's all about. Washington is the gateway city to our country, and you know, it'll be an amazing day, and we can't wait to get started. And I couldn't have done it without my partners, Roger Goodell, thank you, and Mayor Muriel Bowser. And we're ready to get to work, and I can't imagine RFK coming back. I grew up here. DC used to stop and on Sundays, and everyone would be inside watching football, or everyone would be glued at the stadium. And so we want to bring that back. And football really is as essential to the culture of America. We all love it. We all watch it. And it brings people together. And so what a great way to celebrate the United States of America, the NFL, and the Washington Commanders. And President Trump, we leave on your desk a Trump jersey. You are the ultimate commander, so it is a Commander's jersey. There's no bird on it, but you know, we appreciate you, and thank you for everything you've done, and look forward to the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I have to say that Josh had a very good draft a short while ago. You have a very good quarterback.
We do.
A great quarterback, I think.
Very
Great.
excited about Jaden.
Any questions, please, about the stadium or any of it? Yeah, please. Yes.
Thank you, President.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. About the draft, and I would like to upcome an event that it was already mentioned here, the World Cup. Although United States, the passion here is football. For the World Cup next year, how do you envision, Mr. President, this event here in the United States?
It'll be fantastic. I worked very hard to get the World Cup. It was, in fact, I think I have the trophy right here, right behind you. Don't have a picture taken with Roger and that trophy, by the way. But no, they brought it in. Johnny, who's a good guy, but he brought that in. That's the actual trophy. It's interesting that you asked that. And it's made at Tiffany's, and they're leaving it here until just before the actual World Cup. Then it goes to the champion. But that's very exciting. We have the Olympics. So we have both of them. I worked very hard in getting both, and I said, you know, I'm not going to be able to be there as president. And then a strange thing happened, and it turned out I became president not for the term that I was supposed to be. I became president while we have the Olympics and the World Cup, and we have something that maybe surpasses everything, the 250th anniversary of our country. So that's going to be great. That's going to be a very big event, a year-long event. So thank you for the question. Very nice question. Yeah, please.
Yes. So you've often said you want U.S. to be bigger, better, and stronger. Currently, Russia is the biggest country in the world by landmass, followed by Canada and then China. So when you say that you want to annex Canada, is it so that it would be the biggest country in the world?
No, I never even thought of it that way, although I am a real estate developer at heart. I've never heard that question. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, will you have to hire more security and police in order to accommodate the 1 million people coming in for the NFL draft?
I think that there'll be something, and I know Roger will work it out, and Josh and all of us will work it out. It's such an honor to have that. I think it'll be great for everybody, great for our country. It'll be something very special. There's no scene like it. There's no site like it. My whole life was based on sites, locations, and as soon as I looked at that rendering, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to really be beautiful. You know, interestingly, I didn't know exactly where it's at relative to the Capitol, but the stadium, if you go back, is right behind the Capitol, miles behind, but nevertheless visually right behind it. So it's going to be an architect's dream, whoever the architect is chosen, and the owner. It's going to be something special. I think it's going to be great for the area. Going to be it will be top of the line. I know these people very well, and they only know about top of the line. And I would say that more will be put into the stadium than would be put into a identical stadium of a similar size. I think they're going to do a special, because of the importance of the location. I have no doubt they'll do a special job. Yeah, please.
Can you explain a little bit about how you would implement tariffs on the film industry, kind of how that would work?
Well, that's a different story, but our film industry has been decimated by other countries taking them out, and also by incompetence, like in Los Angeles. The governor is a grossly incompetent man. He's just allowed it to be taken away from, Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't do very much of that business. They have the nice sign and everything's good, but they don't do very much. A lot of it's been taken to other countries, and a big proportion. And I'm actually going to meet with some because, there's some advantages, I guess, and I'm not looking to hurt the industry. I want to help the industry. But they're given financing by other countries. They're given a lot of things. And the industry was decimated. If you look at how little is done in this country now, you think we were the ones. We used to do 100, not long ago, 100%. Now we do almost like very little. It's shocking. Are you in that business too? Because he's in so many businesses. You could explain it, but it's not a good situation. So we're going to meet with the industry. I want to make sure they're happy with it because we're all about jobs. That's all what it's very important. It's a big industry, but it's an industry now that's it's really left. It's abandoned the USA where it started, and we'll get it back. Yeah, please.
Thanks, Mr. President. First, I just want to thank you for letting us in here. I'm with Zero Hedge, and the last administration banned us on social media, so we're really grateful to be in the White House. And this is not exactly sports related, but I've been dying to ask you this question for a long time, which is that 2.5 years ago, the Nord Stream pipeline blew up. Yeah. And despite what people like John Brennan and all the hawks said, you were one person who said Russia probably did not blow up its own pipeline.
If you can believe, they said Russia blew it up, yeah.
And so I'm wondering now that you're president, if you would consider launching a formal investigation into what happened there and who actually did blow it up.
Well, probably if I asked certain people, I'd be able to tell you without having to waste a lot of money on an investigation. But I think a lot of people know who blew it up. But I was the one that blew it up originally because I wouldn't let it be built. And then when Biden got in, he allowed it to be built. And it's very interesting. But I think Russia, with the price of oil right now, oil's gone down. I think we're in a good position to settle. They want to settle. Ukraine wants to settle. If I weren't president, nobody would be settling. They're losing 5,000 people a day. Think of it. Here we talk about football. They're losing 5,000 people on average a week, mostly Russian soldiers and Ukrainian soldiers, 5,000 a week, not including people that are, killed as missiles go into areas that they shouldn't be. It's a very terrible thing, and I think we've come a long way, and it could be something will happen, but hopefully it will. As you know, President Putin just announced a 3-day ceasefire, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot if you knew where we started from, because they were not. We had a president that for 3 years didn't speak to Putin, and it all shouldn't have happened. This is a war that should have never happened, and you're going to be very disappointed when you find out the real number of people that were killed. It's far greater, many times greater, I believe, but far greater than the numbers that you're putting out. It's a very, very deadly, horrible war. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some Catholics were not so happy about the image of you looking like the Pope.
Oh, I see. You mean they can't take a joke? You don't mean the Catholics. You mean the fake news media. Not the Catholics loved it. About it. I just saw it last evening. Actually, my wife thought it was cute. She said, "Isn't that nice?"
My question about
Actually, I would not be able to be married, though. That would be a lot. I'd have to the best of my knowledge, popes aren't big on getting married, are they? Not that we know of. No. I think it's the fake news media that, they're fakers.
My question, though, sir, was about the fact that it was put out on the White House account. Even though it was AI generated, it was a joke, it was a meme.
And there you are watching a live newscast from, we actually got it back. So let's bring you there. We have some technical difficulties. Let's bring you back to that news conference with President Donald Trump.
Could have told you that before. And they've allowed millions and millions of people to pour in. Murderers, drug dealers, the biggest drug dealers in the world, actually, terrorists come in, emptied prisons from many countries, not just South America, all over the world. They emptied their prisons into our beautiful USA. And to get that many people, 21 million people we think the real number is, but let's say 3 million of them are serious criminals. 11,888 murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. It's hard to believe we have to even talk about this when we're talking about something so beautiful, but it's something we have to talk about having to do with the country because it's very important. So they came in by the millions illegally into our country. They just flowed in through an open border policy that was insane. And what we've done is we've offered, you know the numbers, but because we're taking them out by the thousands, we're being obstructed. It's very unfair what's happening because the court system it's very unfair. We have to get them out fast. These are bad people. These are people that are killing, and they've already killed many people in this country. Illegal immigrants that came in illegally through an open border policy, which is insane. We talk about common sense. That's not common sense. And they came in from the Congo, all over Africa, all over Asia, all over South America, parts of Europe. They flowed in and just walked right into our country. We had no idea who they were. 21 million at least. That's probably a low number. You know, you hear lower numbers than that. It's not. That's a low number. But many are really serious criminals and terrorists and people from jails. They emptied out jails. You know, Venezuela, their crime is down 72% because they took all the criminals off the streets and the gangs and they dumped them into our country. So we're getting them out. It's a very difficult thing with the courts because the courts have all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they said, maybe you have to have trials. We're going to have 5 million trials. Doesn't work. You wouldn't have a country left. But hopefully the Supreme Court will save it. But what they've done is a very, very serious thing. You know, past presidents took out hundreds of thousands of people when needed. You look at Eisenhower, you look at many of them, and they took people out and they didn't go through any of this. But what we thought we'd do is a self-deport, where we're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from, and they have a period of time. And if they make it, we're going to work with them so that maybe someday, with a little work, they can come back in if they're good people, if they're the kind of people that we want in our company, industrious people that could love our country. And if they're not, they won't. But it will give them a path to becoming, to coming back into the country. If they miss that limit, they're going to be taken out of our country. And they will never get a path to come back in. And it'll be a much tougher process. And it's called self-deportation. And by doing that, you're talking about so many millions of people. By doing that, by the way, we've taken out thousands of terrorists, drug lords. What we've done is amazing. And I'm sure Tom Homan and Kristi Noem have done an incredible job. They really have done an incredible job. But it's a hard job. So we're going to have a self-deportation where they deport themselves out of our country, and we'll work with them, and we're going to try, and if we think they're good, if they have, the people we want in our country, they're going to come back into our country. We'll give them a little easier route. But if they don't work, and if we take them out after the date, then they're never coming back, and that's the least of the problems that they're going to have. Yeah, please.
What's your expectation for your meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister tomorrow?
I don't know. He's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does. They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want. We have something that they all want. China wants to make a deal very badly. You see what's happening to China? China's being decimated, and I don't want that to happen. But they have to make a fair deal. We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year. We were losing think of it, on our trade policies with Biden. We're losing $5 billion a day. I think Josh, as a great businessman, would not let that happen too long, right? How many groups could lose $5 billion a day? if you lose $5 billion one day, that's the end of that company, right? You're fired. He says, you're fired. Get out of here. So we essentially did that, and we have it down to a very low number. We're doing really well, really well. Yeah.
How did you decide to reopen Alcatraz? Can you walk us through that decision?
Did I say what?
To reopen Alcatraz, how will you use it? How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I guess I was supposed to be a movie maker. We started with the movie making, and we'll end. I mean, it represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate, right? Alcatraz, Sing Sing and Alcatraz, the movies. But it's right now a museum, believe it or not. A lot of people go there. It housed the most violent criminals in the world, and nobody ever escaped. One person almost got there, but they, as you know the story, they found his clothing rather badly ripped up, and it was a lot of shark bites, a lot of problems. Nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz, and just represented something strong having to do with law and order. We need law and order in this country. And so we're going to look at it. Some of the people up here are going to be working very hard on that. And we had a little conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting. We'll see if we can bring it back in large form, add a lot. But I think it represents something. Right now it's a big hulk that's sitting there rusting and rotting. You look at it, it's sort of, you saw that picture that was put out. It's sort of amazing. But it sort of represents something that's both horrible and beautiful and strong and miserable, weak. It's got a lot of qualities that are interesting, and I think they make a point. Okay, are you guys okay? I want to just say that it's such an honor to be up here with my friends, because this is a group of people that have done an amazing job, and all we can do, Muriel and I, is give them the greatest sight there is, I think, that I've ever seen for something like this. And I did very well in the real estate business. I think this is the greatest site there is anywhere in the world for exactly what you guys are doing. And we'll work with you. We've got a lot of work to do to get it going, but we'll work with you, and we'll try and make the dream come true. And I want to thank you all very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to help the people of Gaza get some food. People are starving, and we're going to help them get some food. A lot of people are making it very, very bad. If you look, Hamas is making it impossible because they're taking everything that's brought in. But we're going to help the people of Gaza because they're being treated very badly by Hamas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
So that was President Trump. He just wrapped up an announcement, a big announcement for the NFL, as the NFL draft is set to come there in 2027. Also answered questions surrounding his administration and policy as well. That press conference just wrapped up. All right, so we want to shift now. We want to come back home. So this morning we had a very special interview. Carlene, you were a part of this interview. We had Tammy Hall on. Yeah. And we were talking about ALS Awareness Month. And Tammy not only works for, is Atrium, right? She's a nurse for Atrium, but also a speaker, advocate when it comes to ALS, because it is a personal journey for her. Her husband has ALS. And so she sat down here in the Live Impact studio with Jay Monreal this morning during our 9 to 11 stream to talk about this, the awareness. Let's check out this interview from this morning.
I want to get to a special guest right now and talk about ALS. This is ALS Awareness Month, and I'm going to bring here Tammy Hall, who is a registered nurse at Atrium Health. She also provides the critical care for patients during their procedures. But beyond her profession, she has become a powerful advocate in the ALS community. In 2020, her husband, Louis, who is in studio. Hi, Louis. Shout out, Louis. in studio now. He is a U.S. Air Force veteran, and he was diagnosed with ALS after a very lengthy journey to get really the correct diagnosis. Since then, Tammy has also channeled whatever energy she has left from work into her raising awareness. This is her personal journey as well. She has a dual journey, not only as a professional, but also as a caretaker at home. Tammy, thank you so much for joining us here. Talk to me. I just mentioned that, you know, it was a lengthy journey to get to Lewis's diagnosis. Talk us through what happened.
Lewis woke up one Saturday morning and he said, well, my voice is raspy. And we just thought, and I thought maybe it was a cold coming on. So we kind of waited around, and as time went by, it didn't get any better. Mm-hmm. So we decided to seek professional help. At that time we did, and they thought it was gastric reflux. So we did all the things we need to do for gastric reflux, but again, his speech continued to get delayed and slurred, so we knew something else had to be going on.
Right.
So the primary doctor sent us to a neurologist, and they ran all the tests and everything, and they ruled out Parkinson, MS, all the neurological things. And for some reason, I don't know why they didn't go straight to another one, ALS, because I guess it's so rare. People don't talk about it as much, and even in the medical field, I don't think they go straight to that. ALS has to show its ugly face in order for it to be truly diagnosed, because it's so hard to diagnose. And so after that, he went to an ENT specialist, so to look at his throat, and they said he had a nodule on his throat, so he had surgery for that. Voice still continued to get worse. Right. And then we went back to the ENT specialist, and he said, oh, well, there's scar tissue from the surgery.
Sure.
And so we went back through another throat surgery. We went through swallow evaluations, speech therapy, all these things that wasn't what it was. So years went by, 3 years. This started in 2017 with the raspy voice. So I was like, we got to do something. So I asked the primary doctor to send us to another neurologist. So you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to keep pressing, because you have to get a definitive diagnosis. How can you continue to live with the unknown? Right. So we went, had another specialist, and as soon as we got that specialist, at that particular appointment, they diagnosed him with ALS.
Oh my goodness.
At that time, I knew what it was. My heart just like dropped. Like I was like, my whole body just dropped.
Right.
And I tried to, and I could tell Lewis knew a little bit about it, but his reaction to the doctor's was, what can we do? Mm-hmm. And so the doctor explained to him that, it's really nothing we can do. It's just that, we can slow it down, but it's really nothing we can do. So it took us about a year to just wrap our mind around ALS. I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't tell anyone. I'm getting a little emotional, but
yeah, understandable. You said you kind of felt this in your heart, knowing about it. And so, what was that moment like when you received the news? At least certainty. What does that give you?
It gave me a little bit of peace, because we know what it is now and what we need to do to fight it. If you don't know
what you're fighting,
how can you fight it? So, it's hard. Yeah. But we are pressing through. So as you know, ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
Thank you.
And is also referred as Lou Gehrig's disease. Right. And it is, ALS is a progressive neurological disease that affect the nerve cells in the brain and in the spinal cord. And that leads to difficulty walking, talking, breathing, eating. All the things that we need to survive.
Right.
And so there's no cure for it. However, there are medications that slows the process down. And there are therapists too that you can go to help with the symptoms and stuff, because some of the symptoms that Lewis had, as you know, you hear him spoke, is his slurred speech, stiffness, cramps, muscle weakness, respiratory issues. Those are some of the symptoms that people need to know about. If you are having neurological symptoms, sometimes they go straight to like stroke or Parkinson, or things that they're familiar with.
Right, that's a little bit more up at the headlines,
yes,
more popular
things.
Yeah.
This is rare, so people don't think to go there first. So if even a slurred speech, and it will not go away, then hopefully someone will hear this and say, okay, they're ruled out all these things, and I heard on this podcast these symptoms of stiffness and cramps and things like that. Maybe they could advocate and say, can you check me for ALS? No one wants that. No one wants that diagnosis.
Right.
But if you advocate, and this is what it is, then you can start treatment, which means that it slows up the progression. As you get farther in the diagnosis, the treatment's not going to work.
Okay.
So you need to get it early. Okay. So with Lewis, his ALS is a slow progression. Life expectancy is 2 to 5 years. Sometimes people do live for decades. So Lewis has been living with ALS since really 2017 when the symptoms started.
Right.
So he has went past, what he, 3 years, and I thank God for that.
Yeah.
But we're keeping it moving. We continue to go out to eat. We continue to go on vacations, because we don't want this disease to define our life.
Right.
So we continue to do what we need to do, and his symptoms has regressed a little bit. Okay. So we still keep it moving. We think positive. You have to think positive. You have to believe that if you start, your mindset is where it is, and then if you're not thinking positive, then it doesn't help.
You've become an advocate not only in ALS advocacy, but also in this messaging of the disparities for African Americans with ALS. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, we don't have numbers on that. We don't know if it's because we're not going to the doctor. We don't know if we're being misdiagnosed. The percentage rate is very low on Black people with ALS. Since Lewis received his diagnosis of ALS, I've learned of other Black people with ALS, and it's not many. And so that's another reason why I wanted to start this nonprofit, to educate the Black community, because it's not a white person disease, it's everyone's disease.
Absolutely.
But you rarely see Black people with ALS.
You're also being a health care worker in the medical field, Tammy. Talk to me about, how do you balance between your profession and then your caretaker as a wife and someone who lives with someone who has been diagnosed with ALS?
I wear many hats.
Yes, you do.
I consider myself very organized and very detailed. I have a calendar with everything on it. I squeeze in things where there's an open spot. But my main concern is making sure Lewis is taken care of. For instance, I had a funeral to go to in New York, and I didn't want to leave him. So you have to make preparations for someone to be there to take care of your loved ones when they're going through things like that. So it's hard, but you do what you have to do. My hours are back on Tuesdays and Thursdays for work, and then those days are for Lewis doctor's appointments. He's unable to cut his hair, so we have to set appointments for barbershop visits and doctor visits. So those are my priorities, and everything else comes after that.
Okay.
So, and then our daughters are very good with stepping in.
Good.
My mom, my friends, my family are good about stepping in.
I mean,
and
it's a
helping
whole
when I
support
need.
system.
It takes a
right?
village.
And I mean, you need to take care of yourself too,
And
right?
I do.
Okay, good.
I do.
All right.
I do. I make sure I have self-care. I make sure my hair is done, my nails are done,
You
my
look
toes
great.
are done. That's my I can massage. That's my self-care. I have to have that.
Right.
Because if I didn't have it, I don't know mentally where I will be. So.
Yeah, you said that Lewis has regressed in some of his symptoms. That's positive news with something that's incurable. What do you believe may be some of those factors that contribute to that resilience?
Well, Lewis, like you said, he was in the military. He was in the military and jogged like every other day, 3 miles or so every other day. He was very fit and very into his health. So I think that has a lot to do with his slow progression of this disease. And he's still doing good. He's still walking, talking, eating, breathing. So we thank God for that. But I think, his mindset, anything that happens that's not positive, we have to turn it around and see the positive in it. Because we see other people with ALS and we see where they are versus where he is. So we have to look at the positive things of it. Even though, I'm not walking as fast as I used to do. I have to use a wheelchair, I have to use a walker, but you're still walking and you're still eating and you're still doing the things that you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
After so many years.
Yeah, exactly. And so you say you have to advocate for yourself and ask the questions. So again, let's break down some of those nuances when you see when you finally get to see a neurologist or talk to your primary, and it doesn't look like Parkinson's exactly, but you're still a little suspicious. So what do you ask and what do you look for?
So in Lewis' case, it was just, they were taking blood tests and they was trying to figure it out, what it is. ALS was not my first go-to either. I didn't know what was going on. It was the unknown to me as well. So I was leaning on the professionals to guide me down this road because the symptoms that he was having was more like a stroke or those things. I didn't think about ALS.
Right.
Apparently they didn't either, but I didn't know any other questions to ask because I relied on them. But when I realized that they didn't have the answer for me, I had to seek other professional, and they had the answer.
Okay.
So.
All right, very good. Tammy, you have a big event coming up end of the month. Talk to us about this walk.
Yes. Beacon of Hope is having their first annual walk, run, and health fair. So you can, if you have people out there want to run, they can. It's a 3K. It's on May 31st at Mallard Creek High School from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We going to make awareness about ALS, talk about it. We have other vendors there about nutrition, so you need to know what to eat when you are dealing with any diagnosis. We'll have someone there that is a life coach that can talk to you about your mindset and how you think about things and how you deal with things in a positive way. And then we have a reflexologist, which is a person that can do your pinpoint your ears and this and that relates to stress and help reduce stress. And we also have a little fun with some Zumba and some line dancing if people wanted to do it. So we're going to make it fun.
This is our kind of gig, Carlene.
Yeah, we're going to make it
sounds
fun.
like, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to make it fun. We don't want it to be sad. We want it to be educational and fun. And then we have a food truck, which would be a vegan food truck, because again, we're promoting health.
Okay.
And so, and for the kiddos, we'll have a little water ice truck for them because they don't want to eat any vegan food. So,
okay, you thought of everything, it seems, Tammy. And you've raised money for research and just to help people out, know more about ALS. It's important work that you're
Right.
doing. All right.
Yep, and our theme is Every Step Matters. And what my nonprofit, what it would do for people, it helps with social groups, respite care. So like if a caregiver need a break, we will provide that for them. We also help with medication assistance because that is so expensive for a lot of people. And Lewis being a veteran, those things are taken care of for him. And I've heard from other people with ALS how expensive it is. So that's what made me think about, we're blessed in that area, let's bless someone else. We also help with equipment. Anything they need, the littlest things that they need, like just a meal for a week, you'll be surprised how much that helps. It's just providing a meal for them. They don't have to worry about what we're going to eat today. They can just focus on taking care of their loved ones. So this is what the nonprofit would do for them, for other people with ALS.
I mean, you talk about getting his haircut and all of those little things, they add up. The things that we take for granted, those who are, positive enough, or I should say, granted with good health for the moment that we take for granted. So thank you, Tammy Hall. It is Beacon of Hope for ALS. The walk is May 31st at Mallard Creek. Registration just $25 and all for a good cause. Tammy, anything else that we haven't covered that we need to tell our audience today?
Yes, if you want to register, you can go to www.beaconofhopeals.org on my website, and it will pop up and you can register there.
We also have the QR code.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, let's get that up. Sorry, Tammy, and Carlene.
So that people just seeing it goes right to the registration.
Great. That sounds great.
All right. Very good. Keep that up for a second. We'll put that on our website.
People are getting out their phones.
Get your phone out. I know you've been streaming here on WCNC Plus.
Yes.
So boom, hit it now. Beacon of Hope for ALS. Tammy Hall, Lewis Hall is here, hiding in the corner. He's shy.
He's waving.
He's waving. Shout out to you. Thank you for your service too. Appreciate you. All right, appreciate your time, Mr. and Mrs. Hall, and we just think of you so warmly, and prayers and thoughts out to you both.
A great conversation this morning, Jane Monreal did with Tammy Hall, who is an advocate, a nurse, a philanthropist when it comes to ALS awareness. Again, a great conversation there. All right, we want to take another check of the forecast. Here's Becca Bursall with your full forecast.
Well, if you're a fan of the 70s, you're going to love this upcoming work week ahead, as temperatures are going to hang right around the average high temperature for this time of year, upper 70s for most of the next couple of days. Next best rain chance will likely come towards the end of the work week as our next cold front starts to come through, and depending whether or not that stalls out down to the south of us, could bring us an additional round of rainfall for this weekend. Also looking at cooler temperatures ahead both your Saturday and Sunday. Outside right now, we've got mostly sunny skies out there, and temperatures will only continue to climb into the middle 70s across the metro, and the evening should be nice. Whether you're going out for a walk or maybe hitting the patio for Cinco de Mayo, temperatures will be falling to the upper 60s right around 8 o'clock, and of course it is going to be a chilly start for tomorrow morning as well. Want to show you that latest Doppler radar. There is a severe thunderstorm warning off towards Raleigh, but right now we are just getting brushed with a light downpour that continues to impact the western portion of Avery County. So this is a heads up to Ash and Watauga as that continues to drive up to the northeast. Otherwise, we'll be mainly dry for today. That system is all part of this low pressure system that continues across the Ohio River Valley. And this is a part of a weather pattern called the Omega Block. Now, the Omega Block, you can see actually the shape of the Greek letter omega in between a high pressure system and two low pressure systems that continue to sit on the side of it. it. This brings typically a stagnant weather pattern across most of the Carolinas as well as the United States, with some locations receiving a rinse and repeat cycle. For us, it's going to bring some cooler than average temperatures for most of the work week ahead. For tomorrow, lots of sun in the forecast. Highs will be in the upper 70s. A few more clouds will mix in for Wednesday, mainly dry conditions. And by Thursday, as our next cold front starts to approach, that's going to likely bring us a better round of showers and storms. Timing out the futurecast for today. If you live in the Charlotte metro area, you will likely be dry. It's the high country and our most eastern counties that have a chance for a few light downpours. This fizzles out with that daytime heating. Tomorrow stays dry with a few high clouds to fix in. And then as we approach your Wednesday, this is where more clouds start to move in and a few light showers will stream in, especially west of I-77. Fast forwarding to Thursday, especially Thursday morning ahead of our next cold front, and we've got a bigger band of showers, even a few thunderstorms possible with more moderate to heavy rainfall in the forecast. This will likely linger between Thursday and Friday with those highest rain chances. Then, as this front continues to sink down south of Charlotte, this is where we have the potential for it to stall out, meaning it could bring us an additional round of rain towards the weekend. This particular model has us staying mostly dry for your Mother's Day weekend if you're already making plans. However, another model has rain driving right back up from the north. So keep that in mind. Plans could change. That's why you should stay tuned with the latest forecast each and every day for this upcoming work week. Saturday and Sunday are both going to feature cooler than average temperatures, lower 70s with morning temperatures down into the 50s. Guy Roofing 7-day forecast should be pleasant and comfortable conditions with lower dew points today, highs in the middle 70s with a mix of sun and clouds. More sunshine for Tuesday, a little bit warmer, upper 70s with more clouds to filter in on Wednesday with some scattered showers and thunderstorms impacting the first half of your Thursday. We'll likely continue that into Friday with rain chances potentially impacting your Mother's Day weekend.
And that is your forecast, courtesy of Becca Birdsall. All right, now we want to get back to the Karen Read trial. They took a recess earlier, but we want to go back to it. This is a live look at the trial. That is a Canton police officer there on the retired police officer there on the stand testifying. Let's take a listen in.
Employed by Canton at the same time.
We would like to have 45, but unfortunately, we're short-staffed at this time.
At the Canton Police Department, is there different ranks?
There is.
And what are they?
They are patrol, sergeant, detective sergeant, lieutenant, deputy chief, and chief.
Given the size of Canton, is it a small department or a typically large department for that size?
I would say it's a medium-sized department.
Is Canton, do you receive traffic from other areas nearby?
We do.
Is Boston part of the crossroad through Canton at times?
It is. Route 138 runs from Boston, and it goes all the way down to the South Shore through Brockton, Taunton, etc.
Other cities or towns nearby that bring traffic through Canton as far as law enforcement is concerned?
They do, and other states. 95 runs through Canton as well and brings up traffic from Rhode Island.
For a relatively small town, is Canton a busy police department given all the crossroads and intersections?
It can be very busy at times.
You mentioned in Canton that there are different ranks. You started as a patrol officer.
Yes.
Did that change at some point?
It did.
When?
July of 2001, I became a detective.
Did you have any particular or special training to become a detective?
I started attending how to dust for fingerprints. My focus was narcotics. I had several narcotics classes.
Did you engage in those type of investigations on behalf of Canton?
I did.
Did you work with other agencies?
I did. In 2005, I started working with the Drug Enforcement Administration. In 2006, I was assigned as a task force officer for the DEA, initially out of Worcester Tactical Diversion Squad, which their mission goal was to eradicate OxyContin and oxycodone distribution at that time. It was during our oxycodone phase. In 2008, I was moved to Boston Division, and there we focused on all narcotics
not just oxycodone, heroin, cocaine, etc.
How many years did you spend as a detective before you received your next promotion?
Approximately 15 years.
What happened next in your career as far as progress?
I took the sergeant's exam, and I became a sergeant.
In order to become a sergeant, do you have to pass an exam?
An exam and an assessment, yes.
Is that enough to become a sergeant, or is there another process you have to go through?
That's where they rank you after the exam and the assessment.
What year did you say you became a sergeant?
I became a sergeant in 2017.
Was that your first supervisory position?
Not actually. I also worked as an officer in charge, which you're not technically a sergeant, but when there's no sergeant to fill the shift, they'll use experienced officers to work as a sergeant, and you receive sergeant's pay.
How long did you work as a sergeant for at the Canton Police Department?
I worked as a sergeant for 1 year till 2018, and I was promoted to detective sergeant.
As a sergeant, did your duties change or expand from that of detective?
I was still assigned to the Drug Enforcement Administration at that time.
And you just shared a year later you were promoted to lieutenant. Did you have to take and pass an exam for that?
That was detective sergeant, and I did not have to pass a test for that.
Did your duties and responsibilities expand when you became lieutenant?
Yes, I was brought out of the DEA to work in Canton. Brought out of the DEA to work in Canton specifically.
Were there other lieutenants on the Canton Police Department when you worked as a lieutenant?
I became a lieutenant in 2021. At the time, there was 3 other lieutenants.
Were there any other officers above lieutenant at that point?
There was a deputy chief and a chief.
In 2022, January, were you a lieutenant?
I was.
Your duties and responsibilities, do they include actually going to scenes, or was it purely supervisory?
It was supervisory, but we were expected to respond to scenes.
What do you mean by that?
Our chief expected a supervisor on scene at all times, at all scenes.
Even if there was a ranking supervisor like a sergeant, were you still as a lieutenant expected to go to scenes?
Oh, yes.
Did you do that often?
Yes.
I want you to take us to January 29th, 2022. Were you working the overnight shift from January 28th, 2022 into January 29th, 2022?
I was the outgoing lieutenant. I did not work into the 29th. I was the last lieutenant to work on the 28th.
In the early morning hours, around 6 a.m., were you on shift or off shift?
I was off shift.
Were you planning on working that morning?
I was planning on working later that day, yes.
Do you remember what the weather was like that early morning?
Yes, there was a nor'easter, which was snow, wind.
Did anything interrupt your plan of working later that day?
Yes.
Tell us what happened.
Shortly after 6 a.m., I received a call from Sergeant Sean Good of the Canton Police Department.
After you received a call from Sergeant Sean Good, were you informed about a situation?
I was.
Were you told any basic details of where and what?
Yes.
Without sharing the actual conversation, where was this situation taking place?
I misunderstood the situation. I thought it was on Meadows Ave in Canton. I later found out through dispatch that it was actually Fairview Road.
When you heard that there was a situation in Canton, did you decide to change your plans about when you would come in?
Yes, I responded.
Why did you respond?
That's the expectation our chief had for us.
When you go into work, do you use a police cruiser or do you use your personal vehicle?
On this particular day, I used a personal vehicle because of the weather.
Was that different than typical?
Yes.
And why would you use a personal vehicle instead of a police cruiser?
It was larger. It was four-wheel drive. It was the only way I probably would have got there to the scene.
After you received the call about a situation, Tell us what you did.
I loaded up the car with a tent, and I drove to the Canton Police Department, and I got some winter gear from the office, and I got on the radio and advised Sergeant Sean Good, who was at the scene on Fairview, that all officers were held to further notice.
What does that mean?
They weren't going to be going home at their end of the shift until they were relieved by another supervisor.
Why did you take a tent with you?
Because of the snow, the way the call was described to me was a person possibly not breathing. And if it was an unattended death, I wanted to be able to cover the person.
Why?
Respect.
That tent was a tent from your home, a personal tent?
It was. It was an 8x8 pop-up tent.
You went to the Canton Police Department first before you went to the scene?
I did.
Why did you go to the Canton Police Department first?
I had some winter gear there, including a reflective jacket that I thought would be helpful, given it was dark out. Visibility was very bad.
When you got to the Canton Police Department, did you learn anything from any of your colleagues while at the police department?
The only one colleague at the police department at that time was Officer Kelly Dever.
Okay. After you got your gear at the Canton Police Department, did you head towards Fairview?
I did.
Other than the general description that you had heard, did you know anything about what was going on there?
Just that a gentleman was found unconscious in the snow, possibly not breathing.
You mentioned the term unintended death. What does that mean?
An unattended death is a death where someone dies alone, and you don't know the reason. It doesn't mean there's foul play. In fact, 99% of the time, it's natural causes.
Is there a process for the Canton Police Department when they learn of any death, unintended or not? Is there a process you need to follow?
Yes, there is.
And what is that process?
That's to call the Norfolk County DA's office, their CPAC unit, Crime Prevention and Control. They have jurisdictions over deaths and unattended deaths.
You mentioned a CPAC unit. What type of officers or law enforcement is the CPAC unit?
It's manned by the Massachusetts State Police.
Are you required by statute to contact CPAC or the Massachusetts State Police, even if it's an unintended death?
Yes.
Did you follow that process?
Sergeant Lank followed that process.
Is that one of the officers who worked under you?
Yes, that is correct.
Did you know if Sergeant Lank was at the scene when you were leaving Canton, or did you learn at some point when you got there whether Sergeant Lank was at Fairview?
When I got there, I saw the black Toyota Tundra, which is operated by our detectives there, and then I saw him.
When the Canton Police Department first contacted the Massachusetts State Police or the CPAC unit about the information, do you have an understanding whether or not the Massachusetts State Police were going to respond or not?
They were not responding.
So when you got to Fairview Road, were there any other law enforcement officers other than Canton police officers?
No, there was not.
When you appeared at Fairview Road or arrived, were you the superior officer on the scene?
I was the highest ranking officer.
As you're pulling up to Fairview that morning, what's the first thing you see when you get there?
As I pull up, I see the last of the fire apparatus pulling away. I get out of the vehicle. The first one I encountered was Sergeant Sean Good, who was the shift supervisor.
Did you see any other of your officers there?
I did. I saw Lieutenant Lank further down, and further down I saw two other cruisers, which ended up being Officer Mulaney and Officer Sarif.
Did any of the cruisers or vehicles have lights on?
They did.
Did you hear any sirens?
No, there wouldn't be any sirens.
Why wouldn't there be?
Sirens are used to move traffic. There was no traffic. It was a blizzard. There were no cars on the road. You might see an occasional plow.
Did you ever learn the general area where the person was found?
Yes.
At that time, did you know who the person was?
I did. I knew him by name, yes.
Did someone inform you of who the person was?
Sergeant Sean Good did, yes.
Okay. And who was the person that you learned was on the ground?
John O'Keefe.
Had you known John O'Keefe?
I knew of John O'Keefe. I had never met John O'Keefe.
When you first arrived at Fairview, was Mr. O'Keefe still on the ground?
He was not.
Was he at the scene?
He was not.
So when you got to the scene at Fairview, Mr. O'Keefe was already gone?
Yes, he had been transported to the hospital.
So did you ever firsthand see exactly where Mr. O'Keefe was lying when he was found?
I did not.
Did anybody point out to you the general area?
Yes.
Did you have a chance at that point to, well, obviously you didn't have a chance to examine or look at Mr. O'Keefe. Did you have a chance to look in the general area where you were told he was found?
I did.
Tell us a little bit more about the weather now that you're standing outside Fairview Road. What's the visibility like? What's the temperature like? What are the conditions like?
So it was terrible. It was blizzard-like. The wind would blow in your face. It would change directions. The snow was an icy snow. In the wind, you had to actually talk loud to be heard. Somebody right next to you, and it was your typical New England blizzard, basically.
At this point, did you have any position as you assessed the area whether this was a criminal investigation?
When we had no crime at that time.
When you were there, were you looking for anything?
Yes, I was examining the scene.
Okay. At that point, did you have any reason to start a criminal investigation?
Not at that time, no.
When you learned that Mr. O'Keefe was found outside, did you go look at the particular area?
Yes.
Can you describe the area that was shown to you where Mr. O'Keefe was found?
Sure. It was on the left side of the property of 34 Fairview. You could see where first responders and witnesses and police officers had walked up to the area. It was by a flagpole on the property line of number 32 Fairview.
What was the lighting condition at that point in that area?
It was dark. It was sun was coming up, but due to the weather and the cloud cover and the snow, its visibility still was not great.
Were the law enforcement vehicles providing any light for the area?
No.
How about the house? Was there any bright lights coming out of the house illuminating that area?
I didn't see any lights, window lights on. There may have been an exterior, the door light at one or two houses.
In addition to the law enforcement officers that were there, did you see any civilians when you got there?
No, there were no civilians there.
While you were outside looking at the area, did any civilians ever come out?
No, not at all.
Any civilians ever come out of 34 Fairview?
No.
How about next door, 32 Fairview? Did you ever see any civilians come out of that address?
Nobody ever came out of the house.
Across the street, is there homes across the street from 34 Fairview?
There is.
Did you see anybody come out of either one of those houses?
Did not see anybody come out of those houses.
When you were outside and you were shown the area where you were told Mr. O'Keefe was found, did you try to do anything regarding that area to identify the area itself?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
Yes. The area where you were told Mr. O'Keefe was found, did you try to do anything around that area to identify the area?
Well, it was marked out with crime scene tape at that time, and what I saw was pink blood, and it was in a circular pattern.
Was the crime scene tape holding up at all?
No, it was not. It was blowing wildly in the wind, and at one point it was actually blowing in. It was triangular, and it was actually blowing into the crime scene.
Was the tape helping at all?
No, it was not.
Was there any use putting a tent up at that point?
No, there wasn't, not due to the high winds.
Did you learn whether any of the officers had, at any point before you got there, gone into Fairview Road?
Yes.
Who did you learn went into Fairview Road?
Both Sergeant Good and Detective Sergeant Lake went into Fairview Road.
Did you know how long they were inside for?
Oh, did you know that?
I did not.
At that point, did you go and speak to anybody in any of the nearby homes?
I did not.
When you were at this scene and you saw what was happening in the weather, did you make a decision to do anything?
Yes.
What did you decide you were going to do?
Since the state police were not responding, I decided to process the area where Mr. O'Keefe was found and try to find out why he had the medical episode he was having.
If you understood this to be a medical episode, and at that point you didn't have any information it was a crime scene, why were you taking the time and effort to process the scene under these conditions?
Because that's what we do. Even the hospital, there could be a reason that there's obviously a reason he's there. I think we had a duty and obligation to check around where he was found and see if there was any explanation to what caused his medical condition.
Did you focus on a particular area when you decided to look around?
I did.
What area were you going to look at?
Where it was pointed out he was found and where the blood pattern was.
Were you thinking about looking in any other areas around that?
Not at that time.
Why not?
We didn't have any reason to. We only had the area where he was found.
And at that point, did you have any idea what caused his injuries?
We had none.
At this point, when you were pointed or you're looking at the area where Mr. O'Keefe was found, was the area getting covered up at all?
Yes, it was.
With what?
Snow.
How quickly?
Very quickly. I believe it was forecasted to come down to 1 to 2 inches an hour, if I recall.
Did you have any idea how hard the ground was at that point?
It was frozen.
No, did you have any idea?
It was frozen.
Objection. I'll allow it.
How deep was the snow covering that frozen ground?
Approximately 4 inches at that time.
When you wanted to look around the area, did you consider using a rake or a shovel?
I did.
And did you?
I did not.
Why didn't you use a shovel at that point?
I was afraid I would miss something or possibly break something.
What could you break with a shovel?
Anything, glass or anything of that nature.
What was your decision about how you would search that area? What did you want to see?
I wanted to see anything that was possible, whether it was any type of weapon or any type of medical bottle or any reason that he could have come to where he was.
Did you think of a way that you could look below the top of the snow without unresting the scene?
Yes, I did.
And what did you conclude?
Because of the blood, the pink spots I thought might be blood, I thought a leaf blower would be the best method because I have seen it used and to remove light layers of snow, and it can be controlled.
And after having seen that before and making that decision, what was the benefit of a leaf blower over a shovel?
I wasn't going to miss anything with a leaf blower, much better control.
And control, tell us what your intention, what was your hope with the leaf blower?
To clear the area, controlled, slowly, so any potential evidence of what happened to Mr. O'Keefe wouldn't be lost.
Did you have a leaf blower with you?
Did not.
So what did you do?
Sergeant Good volunteered to go get a leaf blower.
Did you remain at the scene?
I did.
And during this time, you still have no information that it's a crime scene?
We had no information on a crime at that time.
Did Sergeant Good come back with the leaf blower?
He did.
Did you try to get any other items to help you?
Not that I recall.
Okay. When Sergeant Good came back with the leaf blower, did you use it?
I did.
Was it successful?
Very.
Tell us what you did.
I started with low speed and began whisking away the snow. And then I saw how it was uncovering those pink spots were becoming brighter red. So I verified it was frozen or coagulated blood at that time. And so out of the abundance of caution, I decided that that was something we may want to collect.
Why did you want to collect that?
Just out of abundance of caution, DNA. I expected it to be John's DNA. And I wasn't going to get a second chance at it. It was either collect it or never have it.
Were you making quick decisions under these circumstances?
Yes.
Did you ask somebody to get a container to put the coagulated blood in?
I ended up getting the containers.
Where did you get them from?
I got them from Lieutenant Kelleher, who lived in the neighborhood.
Did Lieutenant Kelleher ever come over to the scene?
He did not.
Did he work for the Canton Police Department?
He did.
Why didn't he come over to the scene with you?
Because he originally thought the scene was at 32.
Did you ask him to come over to the scene to help you?
No.
Did you expect him to come over to help you?
No.
Did you prefer he not?
Correct.
So when you get the containers, were they plastic cups?
Yes, they were red Solo cups.
And what was the purpose of using the red Solo cups?
They were plastic. They weren't going to leak. They weren't going to get soggy. They were large. I needed a small sample. My thought was because it was frozen or coagulated, that we could collect it, transport it, and transfer it to the crime lab, who could extract the DNA however they saw best fit.
Do sometimes the crime lab test evidence and sometimes not?
Of course, yes.
Is that your decision?
No.
You were telling us about the leaf blower. Does it serve to excavate the area?
It did.
Did you begin that process?
I did.
And when you did that, did you try to memorialize it?
Yes, I did.
How did you do that?
I had Sergeant Good videotape it.
Why did you have Sergeant Good memorialize your efforts to excavate the area?
I thought someone may wonder why I decided to use a leaf blower, so I wanted to demonstrate its effectiveness.
I'm going to move to introduce 2 videos that Council has.
So there's no objection to these videos, right?
No objection.
Exhibit 51.
Thank you. With the court's permission, can I show the jury the videos?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, can we show number 1, please? Could you, Ms. Gilman, stop at the end of the video so it's a still frame? That's good right there. Sir, who's the person holding the leaf blower?
That is me.
Did the leaf blower work as you had hoped?
It was great.
You see other footprints around that area.
Correct.
Do you know how those footprints got there?
Some of them were from first responders. Some of them were for witnesses. The ones up top by the flagpole were for when the officers put out the crime scene tape.
Did officers try to wrap the crime scene tape around the flagpole?
They did wrap it around the flagpole, yes.
I see. And from that vantage point, could you see the side and front yard?
Yes.
Did the side yard have any footprints or evidence that anything was dragged through the side yard?
No, not at all.
How about the front yard? Did the front yard have any evidence that anybody had walked across it or dragged anything across it?
It had one set of prints from Sergeant Lang.
Other than Sergeant Lang's footprints across the front yard, was there any other impediment?
No, not that I saw.
I'm going to ask if we could see the second video, please, Ms. Gilman. Could you stop there, please? You see the end of the leaf blower?
I do.
There's an object just below it at like 7 o'clock. Do you see that?
I do.
Did you discover something in that area?
We did.
What did you discover?
It's a cocktail glass.
Was it, did it have any damage to it?
It did.
Describe that for us.
It was broken on the top.
Could you continue the video, please, Ms. Gilman? Stop, please. There's some red spots. Is that what you identified as coagulated blood?
That is.
Below some of those spots and to the left, there's an area that's not white. It's brownish. Do you know what that is?
That's, I believe, just bare ground.
If we could finish the video, please. Okay. Thank you. If we could have the lights on, please. Did you or any officer at your direction obtain and preserve that broken cocktail glass?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
So I'm showing you two photographs. The first photograph, do you recognize what's in that photograph?
I do.
What is it?
It's a after we exposed the broken, I exposed the broken glass.
Is the broken glass depicted in that photograph?
Yeah, it is.
Is that similar or substantially the same way it appeared to you that morning?
That's exactly how it appeared. Yes.
Do you know if that photograph was taken as a still image of the video or not?
I do not.
Okay. Second photograph, can you take a look at that?
That's a close-up of the cocktail glass.
Of the same photo?
It is. Yes.
I'd move these two photographs into evidence, please.
Okay. Do you want to be 52 and 52A?
Please, Your Honor.
It's 52, 52A.
Lieutenant, what was done with that cocktail glass?
It was bagged and seized as evidence.
Was it brought anywhere that morning?
It was brought back to Canton Police Headquarters.
What happens when it gets back to Canton Police Headquarters?
It gets logged into evidence, and it's assigned an evidence number. The officer types in a description of the item. In this case, it was a broken cocktail glass or broken glass. And once he hits the space bar, it automatically generates a property number for it. And I believe in this case, it was 22-18-PR, which means 22 is the year, 2022. 18 is how many pieces of evidence that the department as a whole had collected that year so far. And PR, I believe, means property room.
Why is it assigned a particular number?
Everything is assigned a number by the computer.
You said it's brought to the evidence room. Is that a...
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We're approaching the top of the hour. My time here is done, but Vanessa Rufus is coming up in just a couple of minutes from 3 to 4. But for now, let's take you back live to the Karen Reed trial. Let's take a listen in.
For security.
Even in the police department, the evidence room is limited as far as people who have access?
That is correct.
In the evidence room, is there an officer assigned as an evidence officer?
Not full-time. There is an assigned admin sergeant who is assigned as the evidence officer.
Does anything happen specifically with the evidence? Is it packaged or stored in any particular way?
The glass was put into a locker, I believe, and temporary evidence. And then it's the evidence sergeant's job to retrieve it. But in this case, we were going to transfer it to the state police.
Was it transferred to the state police at some point?
It was.
Were you part of the transition of that item to the state police?
I was.
And when was it transitioned and to who?
It was on February 1st, 2022, and it was to a criminalist from the Massachusetts State Crime Lab.
Do you know who the criminalist was?
I don't know the name, no.
Did the criminalist come to your department, or did you bring the item to them?
They came to our department.
In addition to the glass, there was plastic cups with coagulated blood?
That's correct.
What did you do with those cups?
Those were placed in temporary evidence and placed in a refrigerated unit.
To carry them from Fairview to the police department, did you hold the actual cups, or did you put them in something?
Nope, they were stacked in a bag.
Objection order. Objection order.
I'm going to warn you.
What type of bag?
It was a craft paper bag. In this particular case, we utilized a Stop and Shop bag.
Is that any different than a bag from the police department?
This made of the same paper, craft paper, the same size and dimension, other than Stop and Shop and evidence and probably price. They're basically the same bag.
Why did you use one of those rather than a bag that said evidence on it?
I don't know where that bag came from. I was in a personal car. Sergeant Lank was in a Tundra. If that bag is upside down, you wouldn't know it didn't say evidence on it. So I'm not sure where that bag came from.
And the plastic cups, do you know what happened to those?
Yes, they were turned over to the criminalist as well.
Where did you store them before they were turned over to the criminalist?
Temporary evidence in a refrigerator.
I'm going along with.
Temporary evidence in a refrigerator.
Is the refrigerator part of the temporary evidence area?
It is, yes.
Did you bring that piece of evidence, the broken glass, with you today?
Yes.
With the court's permission, I'd like to approach the witness.
Okay.
Handing you a box, gloves, and some scissors. Let me ask you about that box. It has red tape on it. Why?
It's a secure and transfer of custody.
I'm going along.
All right, folks, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus as we are seeing a bit of a sidebar here in this Karen Read retrial, which is underway. We are in week 3, and today we heard from a whole lot of different witnesses, including most recently, it looks like we had an officer who responded to the scene itself from back in 2022. We'll bring you back into the Boston area to watch in on those court proceedings once things get underway. Meantime, we want to turn to some breaking news we're following out of Danville. This is the Indiana area where we're seeing a shooting scene where we're hearing initial reports of a deputy killing an armed person outside the Hendricks County Courthouse. This happened this afternoon. Live look at the scene right now. You can see it's quite active. Keep in mind, this is a live feed. The camera crew on scene here is obviously going around getting different shots. They'll be moving around to get different vantage points as possible with this type of scene. So you might see some shakiness and, of course, like you're watching right now, some movement with the camera. So just bear with us here as the photographer on scene gets situated. A little bit about this case that we are seeing thus far. Call coming in just before 1 o'clock today near Main and Cross Streets there in Danville. We are told 2 deputies were taking multiple inmates from a van. They were going into the courthouse, and state police there in Indiana saying that there was a man at the courthouse at a time who pulled a gun out, pointed it both towards the deputies and the inmates. Both of the deputies shot this man. We are told from initial reports, once again, the man was hit at least once. That man died at the scene, and we're actually hearing from our affiliate there on scene that the person's body was still there on the courthouse grounds as of a half hour ago. So that's how fresh and how new the scene is. You can see from live looks, we've got a lot of crime scene tape that we're seeing there at the courthouse, not only blocking off the courthouse, it looked like parts of the sidewalk, even potentially some of the streets might be closed off around this area. And we are awaiting some information from a state trooper, expecting to hear from state police shortly, which is what we're holding tight for. Hopefully we can get you that briefing, that update here on Live Impact News as soon as that person takes the podium, if they've got one set up, or the reporter scene where, you know, no doubt we have lots of local media who are interested in hearing the very latest on this case. So just to recap once again, this breaking news story we're following out of Danville, Indiana. A Hendricks County Sheriff's deputy reportedly shot and killed a man who was reported to be armed outside of the courthouse just before 1 o'clock. There were 2 deputies who were taking inmates from a van into the courthouse when they say a man who was at the courthouse, pulled out a gun, pointed it towards the deputies and the inmates, and that's when both of the deputies who were there on the scene shot that man, killing him. Looks like as far as the scene, you know, we talked about seeing, you know, as the camera moves around a bit and gives us different angles, a wide coverage for the crime scene tape. Definitely seeing that's the case now with this new angle that we're seeing. So not only closures we're seeing for the courthouse property itself, but also the sidewalk. And sorry, bear with us. We're going to try to get to that picture as soon as we can. But we saw the closures there also potentially impacting street traffic. We saw a lot of folks who were kind of maybe with businesses nearby who had come out of their businesses and were milling around in the area. We don't know if any of those folks are witnesses to what happened. But as we get more information, we'll certainly bring that to you. As well as those live images once they come back to us from our affiliate on the ground in Danville, Indiana. While we wait for that information and that new look to pop up for us here on Live Impact News, we'll send you back to Boston, Massachusetts, where we have testimony still underway. Once again, this is week 3, Karen Read retrial. Karen Read facing the second trial, as the first one for her ended in mistrial back in July. Looks like we still have this retired Canton PD Lieutenant Paul Gallagher there on the stand. As we mentioned before, he reportedly was one of the officers who responded to the scene where the late John O'Keefe, Miss Reed's then boyfriend, was killed. And let's listen in now live.
Do you ever process it in any way?
No.
Did you put it in that box and tape it up yourself?
No.
Okay. I'm going to now ask you to open the box, please. Is there an item in that bag?
There is.
Would you please open the bag and show us what's in that bag?
Okay, quick pivot here for us watching on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus as we turn from the Karen Read retrial to a briefing that just got underway in Cincinnati. This is following the father of an 18-year-old fatally shot by police, who has been charged with hitting a deputy with his car and killing him. We've got the family speaking in just a minute, but it looks like first off, we do have legal representation there giving a statement. So let's listen in live here as that family speaks now.
The body cam video of what happened with the police-involved shooting with Ryan. We stayed at the chief's office for about an hour and a half, and what we saw was disturbing. The family was upset, as you can imagine, watching your son, watching your grandson, watching your loved one getting shot and killed by the police was upsetting to this family. We left out of the police chief's office, and a few hours later, I was made aware that Rodney had an incident with a police officer that resulted in the officer's death. But again, we are here because we represent the estate and the police-involved shooting. We're trying to get the family some answers as it relates to what happened with that shooting. We're not here at this point to make any specific allegations, to make any specific determinations as it relates to that police-involved shooting. We are here and we're retained to investigate that shooting. So we'll take any questions.
How will that proceed? What will that look like? What will you be reviewing the body camera footage frame by frame, or talk about the process?
Absolutely. We only saw one angle. We only saw, I believe it was the shooter's body cam. So we requested the records, we requested all the other body cams, we requested the reports, we did the ordinary public records request so that we can really analyze what occurred. I mean, what we saw in the video, it's hard to determine whether or not that officer was in imminent danger or should have thought that they were in imminent danger before they took shots. So we are specifically investigating, that part of this entire tragic situation.
Mr. Wright, to the person who says Ryan was in a stolen car, had a firearm, according to the detectives, and this is what happened, what do you say to that person?
That's correct, but being in a stolen car, having a firearm, firearms, we're in Ohio, so you can open carry in Ohio. So that's not a death penalty. Being in a stolen car, having a gun, that doesn't mean that you should be shot and killed.
Just to be clear, are you disputing any of the comments we've heard from the chief, any of the facts that she laid out in that press conference?
Well, I'm not familiar specifically of what facts you are indicating. However, we believe that this incident should be investigated. It's not as cut and dry as this officer should have just pulled out his gun and shot at Ryan. It's not that cut and dry. So that's why we're doing the records request. We're going to analyze frame by frame each one of these videos to determine why the officer made that deadly decision to shoot and kill Ryan.
The only thing we've heard so far about Ryan has been from police when a member of the family wanted to step forward and tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, of course. This is his mother, this is his grandmother, his brother, his father, his grandfather. Tell them your name.
I'm Diamante Jackson. I'm Ryan's big brother. My brother, he was always like real jokester, playing with everybody, but he was making sure everybody was good. Everybody was on their toes too. Like, he was real loving. Like, you felt his love through anything he ever did for you, by just hanging with you, playing the game, playing football. We used to play football outside all the time. Like, it was just us, man.
How did you get the news?
So crazy.
Don't forget.
It's cool.
Let me say something.
Okay, and this is grandfather.
Wait a minute, hold up. I'm Rodney Hinton Sr. I want to give a condolence out to the officers that got killed, my whole family. I'm asking for forgiveness, and I've been praying hard for the officer that killed my grandson. I've been praying hard for him and his family because I know he's hurting off this. If I seen in the video about my grandson, I seen two scared people. I seen the officer scared, and I seen my grandson scared. So it's an unfortunate incident that happened. So that's all I seen. It was like, I didn't see the police there trying to kill. No. What I seen was two persons made a mistake. My grandson made a mistake being there, and the officer, he was trying to get back to his family too. So that's what I seen. So it's not about revenge or anything. I have nothing against nobody. My Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ, and I represent Him. So, with that said, please, everybody, just try to forgive everybody who done anything to anybody.
Mr. Ranton, for you, this is a fact-finding mission more than anything to make sure you understand
Yeah,
exactly
it's a peace thing for me, for everything, for everybody to heal off this. I want everybody to heal off this. It's just like a mistake. I really feel bad for the officer who was shooting because I can see the scaredness in him too. People can't see it because I'm going spiritual with this now. So I was able to see that God had allowed me to see this part of the accident. Just like my son made an accident too. So he made an accident. Just, saying, just trying to just move on now. That's all I'm trying to do on. And I'm praying for the officer and their family.
How hard has this been for your entire family from Thursday into Friday with all of this playing? That's a lot.
It's been hard on my side. I know it's been hard on Tori, because me and Tori, we and her is so tight. We usually being born on the same day. So God, it's crucial how me and her end up to explain this now. We born on the same day with different years. You know what I'm saying? So all this was building up to this point. But I was trying to just I have to bring the peace to this. There's no violence in this, no revenge.
You're aware there's social media chatter that people in the community might feel a different way?
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
We haven't been on it at
I don't be on no social media. I don't do no Facebook, nothing. I just rely on the power of God. That's it.
It seems like there's some tensions, though, based on some of those posts. Do you have like a calming message for those who are concerned over the shooting?
Long live Ryan. Long live Ryan. I want to say out to the media and the social media, my name is Tanya Larkin. I am Ryan's grandmother.
Because it's long live Ryan.
Ryan was a sweet, gentle giant that played with everybody all the time. You see all the younger ones? That was a PlayStation buddy. He made it a point to make sure that he played with each and every last one of them whenever he was around them. He included them in the game process. He taught each one of them how to play the game. We are very close family. This is killing us. I can't even express how I feel right now about, I'm angry because it shouldn't have never happened. I want to find out exactly what steps was taken and the protocol. And if everything comes out that it's not what it should have been, we need to do something about change and training and diversity and understanding us as a black culture. We as black people, we don't deserve to be killed just because we're running away from the police. We're scared just as much as they are, whether we did something right or wrong. This is everyday life for us, being scared of the police. Take that in consideration while everybody is making comments on the parent should have did this and the parent should have did that.
Okay, come on. Because I ain't worried about it.
Shax, would you care to share some thoughts? Or
What's your name? My name is Marlon. I'm Ryan's cousin.
All right, folks, so we're listening in live here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus as family members and legal representation of the family of Ryan Hinton has been addressing some of the headlines of late here. Just to kind of quickly recap all that we know out of Cincinnati, starting last week, an 18-year-old who was shot and killed by police during an alleged stolen vehicle incident. That was on Thursday, and then the very next day in the afternoon, that young man's father apparently hit and killed a Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy and has been charged since with hitting the deputy with his car. It sounds like, according to the police chief thus far, that the two deadly encounters are believed to be connected, but there we were hearing from some of the family members saying that they are looking into gathering evidence of their own because they say that they have a lot of questions about how some of the encounters played out. We'll get back to that as soon as we get more information. As we hear more family members speaking, we can certainly break back in. But we wanted to talk about a big topic for all of us for this month of May, and you'll hear this much more as we go on throughout the month, but it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we wanted to bring in a good friend of ours here at WCNC Charlotte. We have Fonda Bryant, who is a mental health advocate and a suicide prevention advocate, and you speak out so much about the importance of mental health, and not just that, you actually host these sessions where you teach people how to address potential suicide risks with the people in their lives, which is incredible to me to think, and I know that this comes from a place deep in your heart about your personal experiences, right?
Yeah, it does. If you would have told me 30 years ago that I would be sharing my story of being to the point where I just felt like I was in so much pain from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. I was struggling really bad with an undiagnosed, untreated mental health condition, and on February 14th, I almost took my own life. And if it hadn't have been for my Aunt Spanky, her real name is Kelly, who, when I called her and told her you could have my shoes, she could have said, well, you know what, my nickname is Tweety. But, I go by, my real name is Fonda, and she could have said, well, she's having a bad day, I'll just call her back tomorrow. Well, if she would have waited, I wouldn't be here, and neither would a lot of other people. She went into action. She called me back, and she asked me straight out, are you going to kill yourself? And I said, yes. And she went into action like Superman does, pulled back that S, and went into action like a superhero, had me involuntarily committed. And as bad as that day was, having me involuntarily committed, handcuffed, and taken to a mental health facility, because that was 1995, long before CIT, the Crisis Intervention Team. And to be handcuffed in front of my son, my neighbors who didn't know what was going on, and then being put in a police car, and at the time 485 wasn't there, so that was a long ride from Sharon Amity to Pineville, and people looking at me like I'm a criminal, and they had no idea that I had been planning my suicide. And if my aunt hadn't gotten to me, I would not be here. So it's very personal for me. And then when you really think about it, in 1995, my aunt did not even really know the warning signs. She had no formal training. But when I called her and told her, you can have my shoes, she knew something was wrong. And she didn't care if I got mad. She didn't care if my mom got mad at her. She didn't care if my grandmother got mad at her. She saved my life. She didn't care about that. And that's what I tell people when I'm training them. You can't worry about us getting mad at you. Yeah, we might get mad at you, might not ever speak to you again, but we're alive. Or you can do nothing. And as I call it, the why pain. Why didn't I recognize the signs? Why didn't I reach out to them? Why didn't they reach out to me? Why? And that why pain can eat you up. So that's what my mission is, and my purpose, to stop the why pain and the tragedy of suicide. Because number one, it is the most preventable death of all deaths, and anyone can save a life. You do not have to be a professional, and that's a wonderful thing. You can, if you pick up on the signs, I can guarantee you can end up saving somebody's life.
Yeah, and I mean, we hear you tell this story, and we're so grateful that you feel comfortable sharing this story, your personal story, with all of us, just because it's something that folks need to hear, because I think it resonates with maybe a lot more people than we like to think. And we do want to remind folks, because this could be a triggering type of topic, we're going to put the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline on the screen for folks, 988. That's the hotline that we talked about, that's been established for folks to get quick care. We just wanted to make sure that that's on the screen, and just a reminder, of course, this could be a difficult topic for us to broach, but we're going to broach it nonetheless because it is important. One of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about and have you in, the reason is, this QPR training, because you kind of touched on this, the fact that I think all of us generally and nebulously know, right, we're supposed to take care of our mental health, and we're supposed to try to be there for other people if we think that there are some signs, but nobody knows how to actually do that. What is the right thing to say? How do I dive deeper? We're afraid that we're going to offend someone. We're afraid that we're going to get them mad at us for asking. So can you explain this QPR process? What does it stand for?
Okay.
And how does that work?
Well, QPR stands for Question, Persuade, Refer Suicide Prevention Training. And it's all around helping someone who is in crisis or suicidal. And the thing is, QPR, if you listen, the acronyms are QPR. CPR. CPR and QPR are basically the same thing. You're helping someone in a medical emergency. So let's say, I always ask people when I do QPR training, how many of y'all have been CPR trained? And a lot of people raise their hand and they'll tell me yes. I said, okay, so let's say you're somewhere and somebody has a heart attack or stroke, and you jump in and administer CPR. And they might die on the way to the hospital, or they might die, they might die on the way to the hospital, or they might die later on down the road. Is that your fault? No, because you did everything on the front end to help them. Same thing with QPR. If you help us, whether we're in crisis or suicidal, and we end up dying by suicide, that's not your fault, because we have to put in the work and we have to want to live. Mental health is not a quick fix. And this is how I always tell people, people say all the time, well, I get depressed, but I'm not depressed like that. Or I have anxiety, but I'm not dealing with anxiety like this. So this is a litmus test for mental health. We all have days we get depressed. We all have days we feel anxiety. We're dealing with critical times hard to deal with. But if it lasts for more than 2 weeks like it did for me, and it started interfering with my everyday life, my job, my no longer finding a joy in things that I did, thinking about death, things like that, you need to go see somebody ASAP because it will get worse. And you were mentioning me sharing my story. You know what? It really, when I got taken to that hospital in handcuffs, and I was there for a week, I never will forget when the psychiatrist told me, he said, Fonda, you have clinical depression, a disease that's never going to go away. And you could have knocked me over with a feather because I'm like, oh my God, this almost killed me. How am I going to live with it? But I realized something. The brain is a computer of our bodies. Everybody has been at work before when the computers go down. It's nothing we can do. We'll usually goof off, go home, whatever the case may be. Same thing. Our brain is a computer of our body. If it goes down, it will make you do things and say things that you never thought you would do. But it's also an organ, and it's the most powerful organ, and it's no different than heart, liver, kidneys. And you can live with a mental health condition, but as I said before, it's not a quick fix, and you have to put in the work every single day like I do. Because I'm a 30-year veteran with this, but if I say, okay, well, you know what, this week I worked out hard, I went to the gym, I did everything I was supposed to do, and the next couple of weeks, I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna really put in the work, it could cost me my life. It could cost me my life. So if I can share my story, and it will help someone else, this QPR training to train someone who can turn around and help themselves, even themselves, then to me that's worth every 2-hour training or getting out here and sharing my story.
Well, and right now we're actually looking at some of the images you sent us of some of your training courses, and we're seeing in these photos, we've got students and we've got police officers, and I mean, you take this QPR training on the road to pretty much everywhere that will have you talk about it, because, there are no boundaries of where mental health, could be an issue, right? I mean, it could happen anywhere where you have to talk about these things.
Exactly, and it can happen to anyone. I always tell people in QPR training, we have a lot of discrimination in this country, but one thing that does not discriminate is mental health. It treats us all the same. It doesn't care where you went to school, Gaston College, Duke, Wake Forest. It doesn't care what race you are, what gender you are, how much money is in your bank account, male, female. It treats us all the same. And that's what I try to get people to see. And also, it is a hidden condition because you can look like $1 million. Let's talk about Chesley Chris for a minute.
Yeah.
Chesley, when she died by suicide, people were coming out of the woodwork, calling me, texting me, saying, oh my God, Fonda, I just couldn't believe she took her own life. She was beautiful, she was smart, she was, college educated, she had money. I said, guys, mental health doesn't care a thing about that. She had the same disease that I had. Depression is the #1 debilitating disease in the world, and it's also the #1 disease that can cause us to go down that path. When I do QPR training, I always bring up when I was a little girl, my grandmother used to make homemade biscuits for us, and we would have molasses. Molasses are thicker than honey, they're thicker than syrup, and we would pour it in the plate, then we put some butter in it, stir it up, and then those great biscuits my grandmother used to make, you break it, and then you slide it across the molasses. Well, those molasses were so thick, it would break the biscuit, and then you would have to take effort to use a spoon and put the molasses on the spoon and then eat it, put it on the biscuit and eat it. And that's what I felt like when I was dealing with the undiagnosed, untreated mental health condition known as depression. It felt like everything I did took a lot of effort, from talking to walking to combing my hair, to brushing my teeth. I tell people I have an electric toothbrush, so how much energy should it take? Some days, this person who works out 3 to 4 times a week, has a hard time just brushing her teeth, combing her hair. But people tell me, what are you talking about? You work out, you look great. See, that's what I'm saying about a mental health condition. It hides. You know, we can look like $1 million on the outside, like I said, but on the inside, we're really struggling just to get through the day.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about sometimes, like I hear the terms like high performing XYZ, whatever the mental illness is, high performing depression, where someone is just really good at putting the mask on and so you just never know. At what point do you think that maybe folks need to kick into the questioning part? What sort of signs?
Well, some of the signs for me that still apply to people today, well, one of the first signs with me, I was extremely tired, not regular tired, debilitating tired, like I said. The other thing, my appearance changed. I take great pride in my appearance. When I was working at the hospital as a pharmacist tech, I didn't wear any makeup. I did good to take a shower because all my energy went towards getting Wesley to school. My son was 12 and putting energy in him. My work ethic changed. I was a pharmacist tech. I worked with everything from aspirin to Oxycontin to morphine to Demerol. So we had to be on point. I could not concentrate. I could not pay attention to detail. Something else. You know, we heard this word a lot during COVID, isolation. I didn't want to be around other people. I didn't want to talk to you. I just wanted to be alone. And when I'm doing QPR training, the first homework assignment I give everybody, I said, I want y'all to think about who you haven't talked to in a while, who you haven't checked on. And I want you, after training, to check on them, because the best way to save someone's life is not even as good a trainer as I am. The best way to save someone's life is simply caring, checking on people. And if you text someone and you say, hey, how are you doing? And they text you back, I'm straight, I'm okay, I'm all right. Guys, pick up the phone and call them. Ask the question, you sure you're all right? You sure you're okay? And guys, sometimes we don't need you to fix stuff. Sometimes we just need a good listening ear. Also, another sign, I had quit eating. I would go 3 or 4 days without eating, and then when I did eat, my stomach was cramping so bad because it had shrank. But on the flip side, someone might eat a lot to find comfort in food. Self-medicating. You are 6 times more likely to go down that path of suicide if you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol. So someone like myself, I never drank a day in my life, but that might be something that I do to get that courage up. Also, like I said, changing personality, not bathing maybe. So it's some of those signs that can really be warning signs. And I tell everybody, the more clues and signs observed, the greater the risk. Also, someone tying up loose ends. Like I said, giving away prized possessions. I called my Aunt Spanky and I told her you could have my shoes. It doesn't have to be anything of monetary value. You know that person values that. And if they come and say, here, I want you to have it, you don't say, well, thank you, that's so sweet. You say, hey, are you all right? Are you okay? Would you like to talk? And something else, if you're going to talk to someone about their mental health or suicide, if they came to you, you do it alone in a private setting. You don't talk to them in front of other people. And for God's sake, please, if somebody comes that opens up and shares with you, don't go and run and tell other people. Don't do that. But this is something else too. You don't have to start down the straight path of, hey, are you suicidal? Do you have a plan? This is something I share all the time, and it's through American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's called Seize the Awkward. This is not a warm and fuzzy subject, but we have to have these uncomfortable conversations to become comfortable to invoke change, because suicide is through the roof. And before we end this conversation, I want to give out some of the stats of how bad suicide is, because most people think it's isolated incidents because the media doesn't report it. So I really want people to know we really are in a crisis, but this is a great way. And when anybody takes my QPR training, I send them this link. So this is a way you can start a conversation. 5 ways to start a conversation. Talking to a friend about their mental health can be awkward, but it can really help. Just starting a conversation, even if it feels awkward, can make a real difference in someone's life. 5 ways to start a conversation. Hey, we haven't talked in a while. How are you? 2, are you okay? You don't seem like yourself lately. 3, hey, you seem frustrated today. I'm here for you. 4, seems like something's up. Do you want to talk about what's going on? 5, I'm worried about you and would like to know what's up so I can help. See, you don't have to start off, are you suicidal? Do you have a plan? It can be something very simple as what I just got finished saying. And again, you do it alone in a private setting, and then you don't go run back and tell other people, because what's going to happen if you do, we're going to shut down and we're not going to say anything else to you.
Well, and I can't, tell you how good it feels just in general, regardless of what your mental state is, to have a friend check in and just say, how are you feeling? Or, I noticed I haven't heard from you in a bit. Just wanted to make sure everything's okay, because it makes folks feel like they're not alone.
Yes, and the thing is, sometimes we're not ready to talk about what's going on with us because we're trying to figure things out. Just plant the seed. Hey, how are you doing? And if we don't really want to talk, say, you know what? When you're ready to talk, I'm here for you. You'd be surprised at planting that seed, what it does to us and how it can help. And checking on people, like I said before, we have a very high rate of suicide among the elderly. And I think in Mecklenburg County, I was told that by CMPD. And I really believe a lot of that is because they feel like a burden because people aren't checking on them to see if they're okay. So I tell everybody, check on people, make sure that they're doing okay, because actually several years ago, I saved the life of a total stranger all the way in Provo, Utah. I did not know him. The only reason how I just have to start from it, because I talk about this in training. Simply Caring saved his life. He played football for BYU, Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. People are like, how did you follow the BYU football team? My extended son had been a coach there, so I followed the team. Well, he left, and I kept following the team. So one day, this was during COVID and during when George Floyd was murdered. There was a lot of stuff going on. And of course, we were confined at home. So I watched this video of BYU football players. Some of them were black, some of them were Polynesian, Samoan, and white. And they got together and they did a video called Be the Change. And Chaz Ayu was the first one up. And this was such a miracle. It made national news. So Chaz was the first one up. He's biracial. Mother had mental health issues and substance abuse. Dad, black, nowhere to be found. So he was adopted by the Ayus. Joanne, Polynesian, his adopted father, Jason, coach at BYU, Samoan. They're part of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint. So I watched the video, and Chaz was the first one up. Now, this was on Twitter, and he said, be the change. And see, one thing about QPR training, it gives you spider sense. You're able to pick up on stuff. And so he said, be the change. And I said, something is wrong. So then I started reading some of the comments from fans, and they were like, shut up, play football, Black Lives Matter, destroying the family. And then Chaz posted a tweet. He didn't say I'm suicidal. He didn't say I'm in crisis, but I knew something was wrong. He said, funny how y'all will cheer for us when we're on the field, but we need you to understand our pain, not fight it. When he said that, they lit him up even more. I said, I got to check on this young man, because I think, it's no telling what he's thinking. So I reached out to him in his DM, and I said, hey, young man, are you all right? Are you okay? So hours passed. He came back. He said, yes, ma'am, thank you. I'm okay. In QPR training, it says, if you feel like someone is suicidal, you don't wait to ask the question. I ask him straight out, are you suicidal? Do you have a plan? So he disappeared. It might have scared him or whatever the case may be. So he disappeared. The next part of QPR training says, if the person is reluctant, you be persistent. So for 2 weeks, I was, let me help you get help. I'm here for you. I've been through the same thing. You can get better. I just was throwing everything but the kitchen sink. And so if they're reluctant, you just don't say, well, I did ask them and they just disappeared, so I guess they're okay. You be persistent, but you also start gathering information. You can ask them, do you have insurance? You can ask them, do you have an EAP, an Employee Assistance Program, which is a wonderful tool that people need to use. You can start gathering, you can type in mental health resources in their area. I didn't live in Provo, Utah, but I typed it in, mental health resources. So finally, after 2 weeks of me being persistent, he came back and he said, let me ask you something. Did my parents put you up to this? I said, no, I don't know your parents. And at the time I didn't. He said, did the coach put you up to it? Talking about my extended son, Coach Stewart. I said, no, I knew you were in trouble and I wanted to help. He said, well, I could use your help. I deal with depression and anxiety. He and I started talking offline, and he told me 2 weeks before I reached out to him, he was planning his suicide. So I look at that as divine intervention, but I also look at my QPR training that I knew something was wrong. And a couple of years ago, when I walked 28 miles to bring awareness to my anniversary and to suicide prevention, he graduated from BYU, and he just celebrated his 26th birthday on December 14th of last year. Simply Caring and QPR training saved his life. That's why I am such an advocate for training, because education is really the key to saving someone's life.
Yeah. I mean, that's an incredible story. You talked about how you're bringing these trainings on the road to various places. Folks watching this, they want to take a training. I know that you do have a class coming up later this month. It's on the 24th. It's kind of around the midday hours. So we'll just throw that out there. And we actually have a full screen that we can share for folks who want to take a look, which you sent to us just a little bit earlier today. But how can folks have you to, let's say, I don't know, their business or to whatever it is that they do, their classroom, to have you talk about this?
They can always reach out to me on my social media, Fonda Bryant on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm Proud Mom 72, and they can also email me. My email is on the flyer, but they can always email me at fonda_40@yahoo.com. You know, when I first took QPR as a student, I loved the training, but I knew it could be improved upon. And so I became a certified trainer thanks to a scholarship from Mental Health America. And I became a trainer in March of 2018. And I had trained a little bit, but something good can always come out of something bad or tragic. And when COVID happened, I decided I was going to start training people online. And it's amazing, from March 19th, from March of 2020, when COVID hit, to December 19th of 2020, I trained over 1,000 people from 25 states and 5 countries, and that included youth. Believe it or not, we have a QPR training for youth, and the only difference between the youth training and the adult training, we urge youth to go tell an adult. And I have had students that did that because they felt comfortable. You know, you mentioned about saying something wrong or not saying something right. When you take QPR training, you learn what to say and what not to say. For instance, there's one thing in that training that says, offer hope in any form. Let that person know you care about them. Let them know other people care about them. Let them know the good things that they have to look forward to, because see, when we're struggling, you can't always see that. So you let them know, hey, these are the great things you got to look forward to, but you don't do this. You don't sit up and say, well, you know, Fonda, if you kill yourself, you're going to hurt a lot of people. Do you know how many people you're going to hurt? That's being very negative. That's laying guilt on us, and we already know that. So QPR training is all about offering hope and uplifting that person so they can get help and they can get better. Because really, Vanessa, when I think about February 14th, 1995, and then the last serious time I thought about just the pain was too much was in April of 2014. And I look at that and say, if I would have died by suicide, I would have missed out on so many things in life. Because in that moment, it's like holding up bottled water. Depression and anxiety are the beat up mental health disorders, and they distort all the good things you have going on in your life. And it's like raising up water and me trying to read a sign through bottled water. It's distorted, and that's what it does. So it distorted the fact that I had a wonderful son. It distorted the fact that I wanted to see my son grow up, or this pain that I was dealing with was only a short-term thing, and if I got the help I needed, I could live. So I just want people to know that if you're struggling, you really aren't alone. There is help out here, because I've been low more than once with that thought of nobody's going to care, my son would be better off, but I got the help and I put in the work daily. So I urge everyone to please, please consider taking QPR suicide prevention training, because it can save, it will save a life. And you can reach out to me. I have 1 free training a month. If you want me to come in and train your businesses or your schools, suicide is everybody's business, and anyone can prevent the tragedy and pain of suicide. I feel like I was spared to do exactly what I'm doing, and I'm very proud to be here. And I'm going to keep doing this until we finally put a dent into suicide.
Thank you so much for what you do, Fonda. We're
Thank
so
you.
grateful for the work that you
Thank
do
you.
and for you taking the time to come in. And we know this because you're coming in multiple times, and this is going to be an ongoing discussion. Hopefully not just this month, because we like to talk about this a lot. Just we want to make sure that folks know there are resources out there, including as we put up the information on the screen. You, FondaNC_40 at yahoo.com,
Yes.
one way to reach you. And also, we'll just remind folks once again, 988 is the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. 988. All right. Fonda, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad we're going to keep having these conversations, but action has to action has to come from behind our words, else nothing will change. So thank y'all guys for having me. Appreciate you.
Well, and stay tuned, folks, because May 13th is when we're having our mental health phone bank as well. So that will be really special, I think, for the community. Fonda, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, you're watching here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus as we continue to talk about important topics, not only for our lives, but also big happenings of the day. We want to turn the page now to a live briefing, which is underway right now with Senate Democrats. We are having folks speaking here on small businesses and what they say are some of the negative impacts these small businesses are seeing right now due to President Trump's tariffs, policies, and trade policies. So let's listen in live right now. You're watching Live Impact News.
A crucial step to secure the future of the food service industry, one of America's most resilient and cherished sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Great job. Okay. And our next speaker, and I'm going in the set order here, is, and the set order is here, Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Leader Schumer. Thanks for your leadership on this. Thanks to my colleague, Senator Smith, and mostly thank you, Senator Markey, for having the wherewithal to think of this great idea. Because we are in a whole lot of trouble in general in the economy. We know that. Americans know it when you see the numbers of the president's first 100 days. But it is small businesses and small farms and small ranches that are really going to be bearing the brunt of this. I know, having talked to them, I was just a bunch of farmers, and they're losing their soybean markets. They don't know what they're going to do. They and the small business owners that are standing here with us today, they do not have a direct dial number for the White House. They do not have the president's cell phone. They are not like a major CEO of a Fortune 500 company that can call and get a meeting with the White House and then get their products exempted. They weren't invited to the J.P. Morgan secret meeting with the Treasury Secretary, where the Treasury Secretary gave them little tips on what was going to be happening here. They're excluded from all of that. And that, in addition to what this is doing to our economy as a whole, to big business, small business, the $4,000 tariff tax for every family, the $200 grocery tax for every family, but the unfairness and the destruction of the competitive marketplace for small businesses will have longer-term effects than anyone can even imagine. So one example of the small business here today is a Minnesotan, and we're really excited. Her name is Beth Beneke. The leader mentioned her. She was this is really like we'll call ironic. She was at the Small Business Administration just before this, is that right? To get the award, get an award. She's Minnesota's Entrepreneur of the Year. She makes baby equipment for high chairs. That's why it's called Busy Baby, because they throw things off the high chairs. She has just been getting her products on shelves all over in major retailers, and then she is hit by these tariffs. This is a living example where they're giving her an award for her incredible entrepreneurship as a small business, and then they're socking with her with these tariffs that make it impossible to run her business. And with that, I turn it over to Beth.
All right, I am Beth Beneke. I am a 10-year Army veteran, active duty, served in Bosnia, Iraq, Kuwait, Kosovo. I had my son Christian 8 years ago, and I had an idea for a baby product. And I made a prototype for myself and one for my friend, and she said, oh my gosh, this thing is so useful, you should make it for real. I thought, how would I do that? And I found a product developer who helped me come up with the design, who helped me find a manufacturer. And because this was a product that never existed before, no US manufacturer was willing to take the risk on making it. They need to make hundreds of thousands of units, not 2,000 units. So I started my manufacturing in China, and I have been having wonderful quality, wonderful relationships with my factories in China for 8 years. When I got into Walmart shelves and only had 4 months to get my product ready and to the US and on those shelves, they made it happen. They are wonderful partners to me, and I currently have 3 months worth of inventory sitting at my factory that I cannot bring to the US. I have maybe 2 months worth left in my warehouse in Minnesota, and when that's gone, I have no more revenue. I cannot pay my employees, I cannot pay my bills, I cannot pay the loans which I have leveraged my house against, so we could lose our house. I do not have the $230,000 that were just immediately dropped in front of me to get my products into the US. So I am asking, begging for support from both sides of both parties to support our small businesses and get rid of these tariffs on US-owned small businesses. It doesn't just affect me. When I go out of business, it affects all of those contractors that I pay to help me with my business, all those American-owned businesses, my trucking company that brings me my container, the bookkeepers and accountants and marketing teams that work with me. They now don't get to have the revenue they're getting from me, and I'm just one business that's at risk of going out of business. There are thousands of us. So this is hurting more than just people importing from China.
Thank you. Well done. Senator Markey, the sponsor of our great legislation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator Schumer. Thank you for all of our great small business leaders who are here today. This National Small Business Week comes during a time when small businesses are being hit hard by Donald Trump's reckless, unnecessary tariffs, his policies. Trump's tariffs are a disaster for small food vendors like those based out of Commonwealth Kitchen in Boston. Executive Director Jen Fagel is with us today. She told me that she has imports coming in from 15 countries. She's a small business. This is, without question, something that threatens her. Small businesses aren't like Fortune 500 companies. They just can't write it out. They live day to day, week to week, month to month. They just can't wait 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year for something to get figured out in the White House. They live day to day. And that's why she is seeing price increases. That's why all of the people behind us are seeing containers, basic ingredients, everything from eggs and sugar to vanilla and vinegar all increasing. And even with the 90-day pause, small businesses can't afford this cloud over their head, or the remaining reckless Trump tariffs could return in a nanosecond. And that's why, with Senator Schumer, I'm introducing the Small Business Liberation Act with Senator Hirono to provide an exemption for small businesses in our country from Trump's Liberation Day. Because it is not Liberation Day, it's Obliteration Day for small businesses. It will be a massive economic liquidation day for small businesses. We have 7 million people in Massachusetts, and we have 734,000 small businesses. And the same percentage exists for every single state in our country. They are Main Street. These aren't the firms listed on the NASDAQ or the S&P 500, but they are the lifeblood of our economy. 97% of all businesses that trade internationally are small businesses, and they represent 30% of all trade for our country. And that's who these people are behind us today. Those are the people who can't afford to run the risk that Trump does not know what he's doing, because they are the ones who are going to become the economic roadkill for this economic experiment which he is running. So he's shown his willingness to give relief to CEOs of the big tech giants and grant them an exemption. Apple gets an exemption, but how about people who need apples for their businesses? Do they get a relief? It's only fair to provide an exemption for small businesses that operate on razor-thin profit margins. If Republicans are serious about helping small businesses, they need to start listening to the ones in their state. They need to start listening to Rotarians, to Kiwanians, to the Chamber of Commerce, not here in Washington, D.C., but in the small towns and cities all across our nation. So I thank you, Leader Schumer, for hosting this important event, for uplifting the stories of small businesses being harmed, and working for us to introduce this legislation, which will give relief to all of the small businesses in our country to Trump's economic experiment. Thank you.
And this small business tax that the tariffs bring about affects red states, blue states, and purple states. We are here to welcome Allison Vick, owner of Little Blue Macaron and Little Blue Bakehouse in Raleigh, North Carolina, a purple state if there ever was one.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for giving us this platform. Like you said, I own a bakery in Raleigh, North Carolina, but we're not just a bakery. We are an incubator kitchen for small bakery businesses. So we house small bakeries that are trying to figure out their place in the economy and in the marketplace. And it is so hard to do that when you're constantly up against a tidal wave of things coming against you, like tariffs, taxes, even the cuts to SNAP, Medicaid, anything that's on the chopping block ultimately affects us. We're already seeing packaging delays, so we're not able to even put pastries in the boxes that we've been using for 2.5 years because our distributors are not sending them to us because they're not able to obtain those items. And these are manufacturers that have US-based products but require things that come from overseas to manufacture their product, so we're not able to receive them. We're seeing increased cost in kitchen equipment. We're just crossing our fingers and hoping that the equipment that we use every day doesn't require a new part and doesn't break down on us, because we don't have the ability to wait 3 months to see if we're going to be able to get that, or to pay 4 times the amount that we would have paid for that only so many months ago. Small businesses are the pillars of our communities, but we can't support all of the weight. We need help. We need these tariffs to be taken out of the realm of things that we are responsible for. We need your help.
Thank you. Great job. Now we have Senator Smith from Minnesota.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Leader Schumer and Senator Klobuchar and Senator Markey for your legislation, and especially thank you to all the entrepreneurs who are here today to tell about how your business